Hello, welcome to episode number 6. Excited that you could join us today. I don't know why I'm saying that. I'm always excited that you can join us on any day. Today I'm talking to Carl R. Jennings, who is a fantasy author who reminded me of Terry Pratchett. Reminds me of Terry Pratchett. This is one of the Terry Pratchett books I have. I love Terry Pratchett. Carl has like a sort of, from what I've read so far, like a pretty similar style. Which is obviously incredibly high praise. He is on TikTok and Instagram, and he has a book coming out April 18th, which is 2 days from now. I'm recording this, and this episode will be available today. Of course it'll be available today. How else would you know unless I release it today? But yeah, April 18th, The 90-Day King is available, coming out 2 days. He also has several books available right now for purchase. I will put links in description of wherever you're watching this, so you can do it. But The 90-Day King, and I will read the description here. One night after falling in love with the owner of Cafe Baguette, while exploring his kingdom in disguise, the king of the Bayside Alliger realizes something. He cannot be both a good king and a good partner in a relationship, and so he concocts a grand plan to set up an elected government, abdicate the throne, and woo the cafe owner all in the space of 90 days. While the nobility plot and fight to turn the situation to their own advantage, the king discovers that the dating scene might be more fraught with failure and ruin than royal politics. Keeping a business going, especially a cafe in Alliger, is no easy job, and Julia Baguette, the owner of Cafe Baguette, I hope I'm saying that right, is doing her best. Not only does she work at all hours, baking, brewing, and baristaing with hardly any sleep, she does what she can to keep her menu innovative, and novel to attract customers. But her latest invention, the ring donut, isn't attracting the business she hoped for. In the future Cafe Baguette, beignet, I want to say like Cafe Beignet, Cafe Baguette is precarious. So she comes up with one final scheme to bet it all on, an open stage night where people can watch their talented, or foolish, neighbors perform various entertaining acts, and hopefully buy drinks and baked goods as well. While she didn't exactly know what to expect, what she didn't anticipate was the level of chaos it brought. That, and the quiet, new nighttime regular dressed as a clerk taking the stage with the loot. Although she begins to suspect that he might be, Although she begins to suspect that he might be there more for her rather than a chance to play, she can't become distracted if she wants her cafe to become successful, right? Scheming, plotting, wooing, brewing, and baking await within the pages of The 90-Day King. I'm excited. So yeah, definitely check out wherever I'm pointing to the links, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Carl's link. And yeah, this was a very fun episode. So Carl picked the fantastic 7% Solution, 1976 Sherlock. We're talking a lot about Sherlock Holmes. This is a 1976 Sherlock Holmes and Sigmund Freud movie directed by Herbert Ross, starring Nicol Williamson, Robert Duvall, Alan Arkin, and Laurence Olivier. Statcast. It's got nominated for Best Screenplay and Best Costume Design at that Oscars, and it's so good. For me, it's easily the best Sherlock adaptation. It's written so well, beautiful costumes, the performances by Williamson, Duvall, and Arkin are tremendous, and there's a train scene at the end that is like one of the coolest things you'll ever see. If you like Mad Max Fury Road, which of course, who wouldn't, or Sholay, or stuff like that, you'll want to see it. So sick. 7% Solution. And I picked The Hound of the Baskervilles from 1939, directed by Sidney Landfield, which is a classic. I'd never seen it. I might have seen it in school. It's one of those movies that, like, if you're going to watch like a Sherlock Holmes adaptation, it's like, okay, this might be the one that you watch in school or whatever. That's no insult. It's very much like a pure Sherlock Holmes adaptation. So if you like that, definitely check it out. Great fits. Also recommend it. And yeah, this is a super fun episode. We get into, I specifically remember menswear, just writing. Like, I interview Carl a lot. This is like going to be the first episode where I'm going to try and do some research. I mean, what kind of interviewer should do research, right? I'm going to try and do some more research on the guests, and so I tried to just check out Carl's stuff and his background and other things, and so it's probably spend the first little while interviewing him. Ended up being like a chunky, nice, meaty 3-hour episode, which I love. Hopefully you all love it too. If not, I don't have any advice for you. There's probably going to be a lot of these because I like talking to people and interviewing people. So yeah, some things that the robot says we get into are his influences, inspirations, humor and stupidity in writing, conclusion, future aspirations. That's a weird chapter title. Balancing authenticity and market trends, like on TikTok, Appalachian perspective in literature, interconnectedness in film, the darker side of Sherlock Holmes, the significance of tennis in storytelling, character development through costume, the art of visual storytelling, analyzing Mycroft and Moriarty, symbolism, visual storytelling, thematic elements, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, first hour is just kind of talking to Carl, and then we get into the movies and we get into fits. Great fits episode. Carl is really smart about menswear and stuff like that. It was cool to have like sort of someone who is knowledgeable. He taught me about I think it's like a beaver skin hat. 90-Day King, April 18th, available everywhere. Several books available now for purchase, and Don't know what I'm doing with my hands. Yeah, hope you enjoy, and yeah, here's the episode.
Throw some colors on the screen and paint me black and white. I want to see a thief in a gunfight or a heroine wounded in love. You can keep her lighted by an old flame left to frame, so I can read the feeling on her face, half in shadow, and know I felt that too. In danger and in love, you've got the dreams I was dreaming of, and I've got 2 hours to pretend. So I watch a movie with a friend, time's running sideways, and reality's gotta meet me halfway. So I'll meet it here again. Here's the Trading Movies Podcast with friends.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with Carl R. Jennings, who is a man who tries to arrange words in interesting ways, but more often than not, they're merely confusing and unsettling, otherwise known as an author. He has written The Witch Doctor, Just About Anyone, and an upcoming book, The 90-Day King, which is coming out on April 18th. You can find him on TikTok at TikTok/author Carl R. Jennings and Instagram Carl R. Jennings, which I will put in the links in the episode description and wherever else you're seeing this. Welcome to the show, Carl.
Hello, thank you.
So you're an author. What's being an author like?
Never having enough time, money, or basically anything except for ideas. Those are plenty.
Is this so you have a book coming out? Let's see. I guess I'm terrible with math on days, but I guess like in 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah,
on the 18th. Is this like so the book, I'm assuming, has already been fully written, like it's all bound up and everything. So is this like a relaxing time? Is this like just I can't wait for people to read it? Like what are you feeling right now?
This is, I wouldn't say it's relaxing. It's kind of tense. You ever do roller coasters when you come right to the top, the apex of the very first drop, and they hang you there for a few seconds? That's the kind of feeling that you have.
Gotcha.
Very anticipatory, but very it's going to be very relieving. I know it's going to be very relieving when it finally comes out.
Yeah. How long does it take you? So how many pages is this one, and how long does like something like that take you?
This one is a pretty short one. It's only about 150 pages, and I'd give it maybe actual writing time. I'm not a very robust writing schedule, so probably about 2 months.
Are you someone who this is something I kind of learned about myself, I guess, when I was in undergrad. At a certain point, it took me probably 5 years into a 4-year college career to learn that just like I'm kind of like a burst writer. Like I wrote my thesis ended up being like 100 and something pages. Mm-hmm. But I probably wrote it over like not too many sessions because I would just like write 20, 25 pages at a time. Is that how you are? Or do you typically do like a few a day? Or
at the end? At the beginning, I have a schedule to where it's 1,000 words a day, 5 days a week that I try to. And then once it starts to come near the end of the book, the story, I start writing practically nothing. And then I'll write 5,000 words a day.
How many pages is that? That seems like quite hefty.
1,000 words is probably about 5-6 pages, I think.
Is that like the Stephen King schedule? I remember he said he writes like 6 pages a day or something, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, he does that. And he's extraordinarily consistent with it. That's his great advantage.
Yeah, he's probably the most consistent writer I don't think I've ever read any of his books, but just given his output and how popular he is, like both honestly, like I think like commercially and critically for like many people, it seems like probably one of the more prolific people in the last.
Yeah, he really is. He comes from the old school. He needs to write magazine stories to stay alive. He was also, I think he was also a teacher. But you learn to write. You learn to write really quick when you're paid by the word, and that's your full salary.
Yeah, I wonder about that with movies as well. Like, because I have my big John Ford box set. I have a couple other. I just tried to clean up my little space because it's just full of movies. Before recording here, but I wonder, like, I see, like, who did I watch? I watched someone recently. I just saw the first movie of, but if you take John Ford as an example, I love John Ford, but I think he did something like 120 movies, which is just like an unheard of output, like, for modern times, right? And I just bought, I think, a movie from, like, I think Frank Borzage, who, like, probably did like 50, and George Cukor did like 70, and yeah, that just seems like a crazy, like, any of those, like, just seem like crazy outputs from, like, books or movies, right?
Yeah, if you have a formula that you like you can do, if you read Stephen King books, read 3 Stephen King books, and you can tell that there's a formula that he likes. It makes it a lot easier. Was
you find that with
was John Ford the one that?
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Was John Ford the one that would write a screenplay in an entire weekend, like just banging out in one session?
That's a good question. I don't know how many scripts that he wrote, to be honest with you.
I know.
I can't remember.
I think it was either him or whoever wrote Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. They were famous for.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I was just talking about that last episode. The William Goldman. Oh, okay, William Goldman.
There we go, Goldman. Yeah.
Guy. Yeah.
That's exactly who it was. Yes.
That's cool. I didn't know about that about him. Yeah, I remember Tarantino said something about, like, I want to say he got, like, inspiration. I can't remember if it was for Kill Bill or Inglourious Bastards or something. But he met with some actor, and they gave him some idea. He got inspired. He's like, I'll have the screenplay done for you in a week. It'll be done in 7 days. And it took him like 2 years or something. So, yeah.
Inglourious Bastards, that's another fantastic one.
Yeah. Do you find, so I noticed when sort of looking at your reviews and some of your stuff, it seems like the Terry Pratchett connection is quite evident. Do you find that he has a form of Pratchett?
Yes. Pratchett, if you read a lot of Pratchett's books, you'll find an underpinning of anger to them. It doesn't seem like it is, but he was a very pissed off man about a lot of things. He will typically find some sort of social injustice. His book Equal Rights, Masquerade, you might like that one. It's about it's basically a parody of the Phantom of the Opera. He does a lot of satire of movies and books mostly, but issues with gender ideology and equal rights, like the book Equal Rights, Rights, is basically about that. But he will explore his views on issues in this sort of satirical fiction style, and that's what his formula is. He's more having a conversation with the reader about, this isn't okay, but here's a spell thrown and it explodes at something, so we can distract you from the actual horrors of it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I've necessarily thought that about his work. I want to say I've read The Thief of Time and Color of Money and a couple other things by him that I can't remember the names of.
Oh, I love the Moist Lipwig books. They're fantastic. It took me about half a book to realize he said lipwig as in a false mustache, and I was like, oh, there we go. But yeah, and there's also Moving Pictures. Moving Pictures is a really good one.
Okay, so Moving Pictures and Masquerades. That's cool. I don't think Have you read most of his work, all of his work?
I've read all but maybe the last 2 that he did.
Gotcha.
He was getting really bad with Alzheimer's there at the end, and I really couldn't bring myself to read the ending because I don't want it to end.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah,
Such a tragedy. I mean, it's a tragedy. Obviously, my grandpa had it. It's interesting. My grandpa was like a, I don't want to say, like, in geology he was relatively like known and famous. Like, he did a lot of stuff with like crystal chemistry and stuff. But he got Alzheimer's, I think. When did he die? He was probably when he was like 79, 80, 81. So he had, like, obviously like a very, very like rich life. I think Pratchett got it pretty early. But you talk about, like, just of all the guys who were sort of like built to be an old guy writer, it's probably Terry Pratchett better than anyone. And I remember like finding out, I think it was like 05, 06 maybe or something. Because that was when I probably first got into reading him around there. And I remember he like found out that he had it. I was like, this is like, there's no God. Like, it's like if this guy doesn't get to be an old guy author, like it doesn't make any sense. Because like there would be no perfect old man. Like he was an old man writer, I feel like almost.
He was born curmudgeonly.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. He was born curmudgeonly. When you said anger in his writing, do you have a lot of anger in your writing?
I try not to. I want to do the exact opposite of that. I really try to make things cozy, and the issues come not from some sort of primary antagonist, but from circumstances. The Witch Doctor mostly is that. The Witch Doctor is really a combination of Terry Pratchett's work and an author by the name of James Herriot. James Herriot did All Creatures Great and Small. He wrote about being a veterinarian in 1930s Britain. But it was very sweet and casual. You felt good reading a James Herriot book.
Gotcha. I wonder, is that itself almost like a socio-political commentary at all? Well, I was thinking Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, like, I was talking with my therapist at one point about it, and, he had mentioned that, like, some of, like, issues that he sees in, like, therapy or otherwise, like, just, and, talked about this with other friends, like, they can be, like, circumstantial, right? Like, so, like, it's hard to, like, there's only so much you can do if like someone is at, the point of starvation or something like that. Like that's not really something you can probably therapeutize out of someone. So I'm kind of curious, do you view that as like circumstances happening to people instead of direct antagonism? That seems very much like the condition of living in America or modern society, right? Like you're not fighting, it's not the one person at the DMV that's doing it. It's the DMV as like an institution, right?
Yeah. It really seems insurmountable when you think about it as just an amorphous cloud of badness that's hanging over everything. But it's also not going to help if you try to focus on a single person, because a single person is not the issue. A single person is never the issue.
Yeah. That does seem to be the anger in Pratchett's work. Like now that I'm thinking back to it, like he seems very like in sort of that classic British, like Orwellian, like anti dark bureaucracy or whatever, like that. That's like the systems are such a big part of his work. It seems like.
Yes, it really is the systems that we put up and then mythologize. But Pratchett he didn't rail against a certain sort of class of person, except probably rich people mostly. But
what a king.
Mainly what he spoke out against is just stupidity in people. You can really, in a lot of his works, you could really choose to be stupid. You can choose to be stupid for a lot of reasons, and it's what propagates this system that is just bad for everyone. And a lot of the characters in his books really have to choose, okay, I'm not going to be dumb about this.
Mm. That's an interesting point. You know, one thing I will say, thinking about it now with the Pratchett comparison, you know, it seems like I totally agree about like the stupidity aspect of it. He also seems to have like a classic kind of, to me, like British affectation, like a British affection for a certain kind of stupid, like a you know, certain kind of stupidity that I actually see when it triggered my memory, like in so the two movies that we picked this week were Carl picked the 7% Solution, which I adored, by the way. That was such a good movie.
Yes.
Love it. And I picked The Hound of the Baskervilles from 1939, starring Basil.
I say Basil. He's from
so.
South Africa, so it would be Basil.
Gotcha. Two Sherlock Holmes adaptations. One thing about the Basil Rathbone stuff and the British directed stuff about the time, to me, and you can see this in like The Invisible Man and Dracula, which I don't think was British, but you know, was set there. Like there's like an affection for kind of like a nice kind of simple-minded, like British, like almost like working class stupidity that these directors have, where it's like the humor in like the Baskervilles. I'm thinking like with the servants, like the maid that comes in Hound of the Baskervilles, or you can see this in like the police in The Invisible Man, or like the townspeople. Like it's a meme between me and my buddy in The Invisible Man. I don't know if you've seen that one.
It's been ages. I've read The Invisible Man. It's been ages since I've seen it.
Movies, I love the movie, but there's a part in there where like this kind of, I think he's like he's a policeman, but this sort of like dumb, just like policeman, just like he looks at him like as he's all eaten away, and it's just like in this sort of like Monty Python, Terry Pratchett, like he's like both like this guy's stupid, but it is kind of just like funny, and like there's an affection there for that.
That is British humor that you can see in Terry Pratchett and Douglas Adams and the like, Monty Python and the like. They will complain about stupid people endlessly, but they love them. They still love you. You're stupid, but they still love you to death.
Yeah, it doesn't feel mean, right?
No, it's not mean at all. Even when it seems like it might be cruel, it's the person is let in on the joke at least at the very end.
Yeah.
Like, you acted stupid. This is funny.
Yeah. Is that stuff you grew up on? My dad was such a huge Monty, and both my parents honestly were huge Monty Python fans. So I grew up on like that kind of humor, and Terry Gilliam and you know, then Terry Pratchett and all that.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to grow up on that. I had no idea it existed. Very early age, it was Three Stooges and Looney Tunes.
That's kind of, I mean, honestly, one of, like all those very influential.
Absolutely.
On, like, Monty Python and everything.
In just about anyone, there's a lot of slapstick, but it's a lot of dark slapstick in it. But it's very Three Stooges type. But I didn't get into the British humor until probably 2008 starting. Kind of became an Anglophile at that point.
Yeah, that was when you say the grandpa I said with the Alzheimer's, he's from Brooklyn and grew up in Brooklyn in the 20s, and he was a Three Stooges hipster. Believe it or not. Like he could credibly say like he saw them before they were famous. Like he watched them as a kid when they were on like stage in Brooklyn in the 20s. He was a very
when they
old
were
guy.
vaudeville.
Yeah. He was a Shem Howard hipster because he always like, you know, I would see Mo and like whatever, and he just loved him. Weirdly, there's a family connection. The only, like, you know, not a nepo baby in any sense of the word at all, but my grandpa's I think his uncle, so which would I guess make him my great uncle or something like that. He directed a Three Stooges short called Woman Haters. Actually, that's
really.
Yeah, I wish I had some Hollywood money or connections. I don't. It's like he's like, you know, he stopped working, I think, in the 30s or something.
If you'd been in Hollywood about 50 years ago, that would have been a little cachet.
You know, it would have been nice, but now I don't have don't have none of that. The Three Stooges, I could totally see like, yeah, this being. So was it kind of revelatory for you when you got into like the Anglophile, like the British, like Terry Pratchett? If you liked that stuff growing up, I would imagine it was like, wow, this is cool.
It was like drinking. It was like drinking Coca-Cola for the first time when you didn't know that you could actually drink anything. It was mind blowing.
Yeah.
But I devoured Terry Pratchett novels and Monty Python and Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister.
I need to see those.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic. Black Books. IT Crowd. Oh, they're fantastic.
Yeah, I need to see. I'd like to. Faulty Towers I haven't seen. I've always heard,
yes.
because I love John Cleese.
You'll love it then. You are going
Yeah.
to adore Faulty Towers.
I need to. The there's a lot of actually television shows from that era that too. There's because I really like the director Martin Campbell, who did Goldeneye, and he did Casino Royale, two of I think the best Bond movies, and he did The Mask of Zorro. All three of those movies, like Mask of Zorro and Goldeneye, were like two of my favorite movies as a kid. And he did a British television show, I believe, called Edge of Darkness. That was like a mini series. It's supposed to be really good. So definitely, I'm lacking on my British one.
I am too. I haven't heard about that one. Now I'm going to look that up because I love those movies too.
I think he did a remake with Mel Gibson in 2007 that I haven't seen. But there's like supposedly, I think it came out around like the original British like House of Cards era when they did a lot of series. So that's cool. Do you I noticed so going back to the question of writing, like are you like a big outliner or note taker? One thing I thought was funny is I think you and I take notes almost the exact same format, because when I was taking my notes for these movies, let me see if I can, like, I just saw the cursive one on one of your things, but like, hold this up, but like the little dashes, and then sometimes I notice you also do the thing where like if you sort of have like a little line, I don't know if you can see like up there's like a little line sort of like saying, no, this note goes over there or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Is that how you take them? Is that for your...
Ours is pretty much the same.
That's so cool.
I'm dot lines and indents and arrows and whatnot. Very messy too.
Yeah. Cursive.
Oh yeah.
Was that so? You have a pin video on your TikTok where you are casting a spell from a grimoire, I think. Is that all real writing, or is that?
Yeah.
Is that just like notes?
For a brief, for that book in particular, for a brief period, I had an ASMR channel on YouTube for writing for about a year. Didn't really go anywhere, but that notebook is what I used for the writing because the paper quality is fantastic. And
what's it called? Because I got this one at like a conference years ago, but I'm like filling it up now.
It is Tome River.
Tome River. We're making note of that.
It's Japanese.
That'd be cool. So do you like just, was the ASMR just like, do you like the sound? Do you like listening to people or like listening to their writing? Is that just like something that's relaxing for you?
I really do. I love it. That's if I didn't have to type on a computer to write my books, I would probably be one of the most prolific writers of the century because I just love the sound of pen on paper so much.
Do you use like I actually, one thing I just finally, it's been so long since, I used to always, because I have like my hand, like I get like, I've like double jointed, I have like a baseball injury in my hand. I get like some arthritis in my hands. So I've like, for school, as soon as I could, I switched to typing because it's just a bit easier for me. But I don't like a screen or doing the phone when I'm like taking notes for movies. So I've recently switch back to just doing handwritten writing. And one thing I've noticed is like having a nice fat pen is better. Like I need to figure out, like, I have pretty big hands, but like what the fattest pen I can find. Or do you use like a fountain pen, or like do you use like are you like a pen nerd?
For kinda. You need more money to be a pen nerd. I do. I use a fountain pen. Yeah, that's actually one of the pens I used on one of the early ASMR videos. But yeah, I use a fountain pen a lot. for hand drafting, I use a pencil a lot too.
That's cool. I hate pencils. That's one thing I'll never use. The like, I have like among my many neurodivergences, I would say I have like I hate like pencil shavings and like just graphite and all that, and like it getting on my hands just drives me crazy. So pens are bus.
You'll hate this new TikTok channel that I found where it's just pencil sharpening ASMR. That'd probably drive you crazy.
The sharpening, I don't mind. Like if I had like the idea of it and like that, like how people make the pretty shapes with it and like whatever else, like it's cool. But like just the actual like using it, I hate. Like and it getting on the dust, getting on things and like breathing in the dust. It's like total nightmare.
If you like thicker pens, then you'll like fountain pens. They tend to be larger than normal.
Maybe look up a fountain pen.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. So that was all. So that you're like, are you writing in cursive while you're doing it? Like, do you?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
you have very good penmanship.
Oh, well, thanks.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid in elementary school, when we were learning cursive, the teacher said, "You need to learn this, or you won't be able to get anywhere in college or in life." So, I really forced myself to ingrain that in my head, and I can't get out of it now. So,
yeah,
everything's in cursive.
Mine's a weird hybrid. I think it's like. It just is awful, especially because like I didn't really write anything but my signature for like years and years.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not and so now my handwriting was never good, but it's just a disaster now. So it's like half cursive, half not.
Well, hey, as long as you can read it, that's the important thing, especially for notes.
Barely, sometimes, to be honest with you. I have a question about, are you still the rooster-themed superhero, the Molotov cocktail? Protecting the weak in the beer sodden.
Yes, I've been the Molotov cocktail for about a decade now, but I am getting up there in age, so I'm thinking about passing on the wattle and the tail feathers,
like the Dread Pirate Roberts in Princess Bride.
I got it, and the Phantom. I got the mantle from another person who aged out of it.
That's cool. That was my attempt at trying to do like a Nardwuar style question where I find the oldest thing I can about you. So you used to be a bartender?
Oh,
in
no.
Former life? Past life?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought it said you were a bartender. Damn.
Oh, there's a lot of things in my biographies that I write, because I've written several, because I did short stories before that, and I've written a number of biographies, and I will just make things up.
That's so cool.
I'll get the essentials out. It's like, you can find me here, here, and here, but a lot of the other things are made up, and I mix it in with stuff that isn't, so it gives it a real believability. The outlandish things a real believability.
I love that. That's so cool. I did. Here I was thinking I was doing. I should have looked at more of the biographies. I might have been like, well, how's he saying all these things? That's cool. Well, the reason I was going to ask is it seemed like that would be inspiration for writing. I know like a lot of people like to write in bars. Like, have you had a job that is like particularly inspiring for writing, or is it just like coming from the soul, the heart, or other things?
Have I had a job? Not a job doing that.
That like inspires you for writing?
No, I have a job now that like gives me time for writing. So in a way, it's inspiring.
Gotcha. You're not like getting inspired. Like I figured, like with the bartend, you'd be like, oh, it's like characters, coming in or like whatever. No,
that comes from people watching. I'm a big people watcher.
How do you people watch? Like, what's your?
I'd go to the mall a lot, and about maybe 10 years ago, I would go to bars and just sit and watch people. I'd just be by myself and just sit and watch people and their interactions with one another, and it was very interesting. And that's where you get a lot from to make up characters.
It's cool. I love that.
Mm.
Yeah, that's one thing I wish I did more is go out. I'm in East Tennessee at the moment. I'm considering moving to a city, potentially like Chicago or something else,
Mm-hmm.
and I probably will be a frequent. It'd be nice to be able in a place where I could sort of frequent more establishments like that for my own writing. Not even trying to justify just me drinking more, because thankfully I don't have like a very crazy urge to drink. I know a lot of folks can struggle with that. I do love a beer, but yeah, it's more to the point to give me sort of an excuse for people watching. When I used to live in New York City, I used to love that. Just kind of even just standing on a street or walking and just seeing people.
Cafes are good too, if you're not wanting something to drink.
That's good. Do you still do that? Like, is that still like a regular? Do you write in public like that?
Yeah, I'll go get some coffee somewhere, usually a local place. And I'll write. The good thing about cafes is that you can see people in the persona of how they want to be perceived in a normal setting. In bars, you can see people and how they care a lot less about perception and more about enjoyment. So the setting, and like malls are different too. And the setting shows you a lot of different facets of people.
Yeah. That's fascinating. Do you have you in your years of people watching have you found that that's changed with social media at all? As I worry about that, like, you know, I've been posting a bunch of clips of Harlan County, USA documentary on my channel, which is like this. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it to you and the audience generally. But it's like, you can tell from like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s that the people didn't really have a ton of experience being on camera or like even seeing probably a lot of documentary type footage, which is just totally different to now where like everyone is like on video like constantly and people have just sort of a general media perception. I guess in your years of people watching, have you noticed a shift with that where people are more self-conscious and maybe is it not as good? Is it better? Like, is it different?
It's something of a paradox because I've seen a lot of like it, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, there's been a forgetting and an outright ignorance of sort of social courtesies. You know,
like please and thank you, or what do you mean by that?
That, you know, not being obnoxiously loud in somewhere that's quiet. What I've seen with social media is a really focusing down on oneself as the center of what's around you instead of being part of something bigger.
Yeah. Do you think that has like it seems to me like it definitely feels, it's weird despite being like probably, you know, the average person probably sees, especially via social media, like if you're on TikTok, you see like 1,000 more people per day than you ever would like if you lived in a village 100 years ago or something, where it's like these are my cast of characters. It does feel like despite that, it's just way more isolating. You would almost think it'd have the opposite, right? But it does feel...
It's isolating because who we are on TikTok and Instagram and social media is a performance. No matter what you're doing, you can be the realest person that you think you're being, but regardless, who you are on a TikTok video or an Instagram reel is someone that you've created. So you don't actually get to know people as well anymore. You don't have that sort of cast of characters around you because the people around you that you see most often, you know, those thousands of people are fake people. They're storefronts. There's a real person there, and that's another thing that I've seen that people are forgetting is that, you know, behind this keyboard and this camera is an actual person, and that also goes back to this is a facade that they're putting up because they want to communicate something, they want you to buy something, they want to make you think a certain way. But yeah, that's social media.
Yeah. Do you you're a pretty prolific social media user, like when it comes to promotion. It seems like you must think about that a lot, right? Like,
I have to be the
how do
one
I juice the algorithm? How do I juice the algorithm? How do I get this like
yes, absolutely. It's a constant thing because, you know, I'm the only one doing my promotion, and I need to keep it in the algorithm.
Do you find that bleeding into your work at all, or do you fear that? There's actually a movie I'm writing about,
Mm-hmm.
like a not to it's been like a project I've been thinking about it even well before I started my own TikTok channel like earlier this year. Just the sort of the nature of like being a creator in sort of an algorithmic, like YouTube Shorts, TikTok, YouTube, Netflix, like all these like. If you're on like a marketplace like that, then it feels like even especially it's honestly like now doing my thing, it feels like there is a pressure to be like, well, this is like it's almost like audience first as opposed to like I think true art and the best type of art I generally like is like when you have something that you internally need to communicate, like for whatever thing, this is like your particular juice that you just want to get out in the world and you want to share with people. But if that doesn't like what if the algorithm doesn't like that, right? And then it's like, well, maybe I adjust my juice just a little bit to switch the algorithm or whatever, right? So
I would much. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to ask. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I would much rather see a weird little thing from a weird little person who has something to say than 10,000 cookie cutter books, movies, or whatnot. Even if it's bad, even if this person has absolutely no talent in this area, I would rather much see what they made rather than what they would think that other people would like. It's something I do worry about, and I have to catch myself sometime thinking, because I will not write to market, and that's what's really kept me small. But that's a sacrifice you have to make for doing what you want to do and making the kind of art that you want to make. But I will catch myself thinking like, well, if I put this character in, or if I put this trope and make this trope this way, or if I just follow this formula. I've read tons of formula books, and they're really helpful in the early planning stages. But if you follow all of that to a T and write to market, you're not going to be writing anything that's satisfying to you or to anyone else, and it's not worth it. It's really not like George R.R. Martin or Tolkien level. Well, Tolkien's not around today, but that level of fame is not really worth writing 500 books that you really don't care about.
Yeah. And famously, I think George R. R. Martin, I remember he did his books because he's like, well, the type of stuff he's a television writer, right? He's like, he kept trying to write these big expensive things for TV. And he's like, they always tell me it's too big, it's too expensive, it'll never get made. I can't do it. Like, I'm just going to write whatever I want to write. And then, audience be damned. I'm just going to do my thing. This is what I want to do. And it became the most popular fantasy book probably series in since Tolkien. And then became a show, but ironically enough, that
it came full circle for him.
One of the biggest budget television shows probably ever. It's like $1 an episode.
God, it was everywhere. Game of Thrones was everywhere when it was playing.
Are you a fan? That seems kind of like a little bit. When you said you write like cozy, more on the cozy side. Like R.R. Martin is
certainly not.
Definitely not. Yeah,
it's certainly not that. Yeah, I am. He writes a very traditional sort of fantasy, harking way back to swords and sorcery with Conan the Barbarian and whatnot, and he has his spins. It's not the fairy tale sort of fantasy. It's quite. Of course, if you've read it or watched it, it's quite gritty, and a lot of the early sword and sorcery was really gritty, and I like that too.
Yeah. I've been I'm endlessly behind on my books to read, but I definitely would.
You're never gonna catch up. You're never gonna catch up in the TBR.
Same with movies. Yeah, I probably just bought like 100 movies in the last week just because I was up in Chicago where there's a bunch of cool kind of used stores, and then Criterion had their sale, so that killed me as well. I noticed because my last episode was on Cormac, and because we're talking about the opposite of I noticed there's an interview you did where you mentioned that you've read some Cormac, and because I think the interview had asked you, I think if this is the right Carl Jennings, and if you were telling the truth in this interview, you said that like you had read a couple novels by him, and that it's sort of like you I think just what you were saying was like, well, I'm probably not going to ever get worse than that in terms of like content or like like grotesquerie or whatever. So I guess as an East Tennessean, love Cormac. And or which books have you read by him, and are you a fan? Is that typically stuff you read?
Yes, I've read The Road. I've read No Country for Old Men, and I've read a third one. I haven't read Blood Meridian. I want to. That's my next one from them. Yeah. But I really do enjoy McCarthy's unabashed bleakness. Yeah. I've never met the man, and I really haven't read much about him. I don't think there's a lot about like interviews and whatnot that he's done. He seemed rather reclusive.
There's like one major one with Oprah, weirdly enough, after she picked The Road, I think, for a book club.
I have no doubt he was cajoled into that.
He was a fascinating guy. I think he ended up. I think he had a good time with Oprah. It's a fascinating interview. I think it was with Oprah. Are you from? Now that I say, when you say that, are you from? Are you from Virginia, or do you live in Virginia? Like
Southwest Virginia. I live there now.
Is it like Richmond area? Because I'm right outside of Knoxville, so.
It's about a little less than 3 hours west of Richmond, in a city called Roanoke.
Oh yeah, okay, that's what I'm. That's on the south. That's like
Southwest Virginia.
Up near Tri-Cities, and I can't remember what is there. Like I can't remember even as bad as Tennessee, and there's Johnson City, and I can't even remember the other two Tri-Cities. I thought one was in Virginia, but now I can't. This is geography talk.
Yeah, congratulations.
Well, that's cool. Well, I would say if you like Cormac, so biographically, he was from East Tennessee. So he's like, I would, like, once I read, and again, I'm speaking like I'm an expert, but I'm not. But I read the book Child of God, and once I sort of realized that he's just like an East Tennessee guy, everything clicked. He's just an Appalachian. So like, if you're Southwest Virginia, like, the General Mountain Range, like,
I'm just on the other side of the Appalachians from him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just an old Southern guy. That's all. He's an old Appalachian guy. Is all he is, and like the bleakness and the humor and the combination of it just makes so much sense. Like it all just kind of clicked into place after, like, oh, okay.
If there's something about Appalachians in southern U.S. that they don't shy away from something that is uncomfortably depressing. It's going to be right up front, and it's going to be right matter of fact.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Were you born and raised in Southwest Virginia?
Oh yeah, all my life.
That's cool. I've driven through there a bunch of times. It's going up to the Northeast. I saw that you made a is it like a lemon device?
Like
device.
I'm a big fan of Doctor Who.
Okay, I've never seen Doctor Who. So
it's pretty fun.
I know there's like a trash can and a phone booth.
Oh yeah, there's a trash can that kills people.
It's an evil trash can.
Yeah, they're Nazis.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the police box. The camouflage that's supposed to be camouflage.
Okay.
But yeah.
How does the lemon tie into that?
Oh, there's a device in there called the sonic screwdriver. And it's sort of like this all-purpose manipulation device. Can work with technology.
For like matter or people or what?
Well, yeah. Mainly it's there to unlock doors. Like one of the new showrunners of Doctor Who said he wanted to keep it in there because he doesn't want the Doctor to ever be stopped by a locked door. But it communicates with computer devices, can scan medically, whatnot. It's something of a less technologically based, less powerful magic wand. but I would make my own versions of that because I just like tinkering with junk. But I'm also a very big fan of lemon drops. I love lemon drops. And there's a device that the Doctor's main antagonist, the Master, uses at different points, called the tissue compression eliminator, which is just a shrinking device. Kill people just by shrinking them into little tiny sizes. And I've got inspiration from that, where it's something that will turn things and people into lemon drops. And I just thought that was hilarious. So I'll tinker around with things.
Is that like, do you like sort of make these kind of like devices or like little gadgets like regular? Is this like a new thing, or have you done it for a while?
No, I've been doing it for a while now. When I was a kid, I would take apart like VCRs and whatnot and surprisingly put them back together correctly. So it's just a tinkering thing I like to do.
Yeah. Have you posted? TikTok would probably love that.
Yeah. Just very recently, like a couple of days ago, I've posted a sort of montage about a build. And I should probably do one where it's just a more typical top-down, to where people see the whole process.
Yeah, like one of those watch repair videos or something. That'd be cool. Do you smoke pipes while writing? I noticed like...
Yeah, I used to.
You used to? Okay.
Yeah, I used to smoke
That's when I was digging through your history.
Yeah. From about...
Corn cobs?
Oh, those are my favorite. I would make my own corn cobs.
Oh, cool.
From about 19 up until about 33, I smoked a pipe, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
To tie that into the movie we're watching today, Basil Rathbone, he smoked a blend from a tobacconist in Connecticut called Wilkie, and it was called number 515, and I've tried that.
Is it good?
It's really fantastic. It's sort of rum flavor.
Yeah, I think I used to smoke cigarettes, and I smoked cigar. My dad smoked cigars, and he used to smoke a pipe, and my buddy used to smoke a pipe. So I think a couple times I was definitely more of a, I don't know, I'm not as classy. I like a good cigarette, like a kind of a trashy L&M or
if you're busy, you don't want to have a pipe habit.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like very like one of those things that's kind of nice to sink into, though. Not that we're advertising smoking on here. We would never do that.
Do it.
I saw a very nice review from a Scottish goth lady about your book, The Witch Doctor. That was cool. How do you feel like getting reviews like that? Is that like why you do it?
Incredibly awkward.
Bad at taking compliments?
Yes. If I didn't have to let people read my books, so to let people read my books, if they could read them without reading them, that'd be fantastic.
Why are you nervous about that? This is now a therapy session.
There we go. This is therapy. I don't know. I'm used to being pretty reclusive and being on sort of an outside looking in. And when I read a review,
like people watching, you're the looker at her.
And when I read a review, it's like the inside's looking back out at me, and I'm like, I don't like that so much. But I've been very fortunate to find a lot of people who have really liked what I did. So it's never been a blow to the ego. Even when people have had, notes and criticisms, I really haven't encountered anyone who's been a jerk. So I'm very fortunate.
Do you have a story of a particular moment that where someone either didn't get what you were trying to do to your opinion, or
there was a review in Publishers Weekly, because just about anyone was published traditionally at first. And there was a review from Publishers Weekly who didn't really seem to pick it up. They were, they had read it, and they had, they'd mostly gotten it right, but there were just a few moments that I didn't feel as though they had clicked with it. And that's another reason that I'm always nervous about reading reviews. And I'm like, did I miscommunicate this to you? or am I not communicating with you in a way that you will understand? Because that's a fault. That's a fault on me as a writer. If I'm not making something in which this person cannot get what I'm trying to say, it's a mismatch in reading and writing from reader to writer, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's always going to happen, but it's still just uncomfortable when it does.
Yeah. So you said in an interview once, also probably in that same one, small meaningful parts of a story are ignored, like that commonly in writing, that small meaningful parts of a story are ignored for a grand scheme. Like, and you were talking about sort of that you like to like have things like even small things like matter, like things connected. Is that like the type of writing that in fiction, like whether movies or books, like do you sort of like things to be like very kind of connected and like tied together, even down to like sort of a small detail?
Absolutely. I'm of the opinion that there is, and I hope this comes across in my writing, is that there's no such thing as insignificant. There's just the view that you have of something currently. Like, I'll go off on tangents in books, which would, like in just about anyone, I followed the progress of a glass milk bottle up until, from when it was found by a certain character whom was in the story at that point. And it's just a complete digression going through the lifeline of this milk bottle until it's finally broken. But it, like I said, there's no such thing as insignificant. Even something which you don't consider important, or something which you have absolutely no idea about, is having an impact on your life, everyone else's lives, and events around you. And when I say impact, I'm not meaning something that has to be this grand sort of world-changing event, but something that is affecting you and your world by just existing.
And that's also the, like, is that the type of, so like when you're looking for books to read or movies to watch, is that one of the things that you're looking for? Is like, you like that, you like to read that as well?
It's something I really do enjoy to read, and that's another aspect of what I like about Terry Pratchett and British humor in general. Like, you'll see this in Douglas Adams too. But there's an interconnectedness, and there is a consideration for things that aren't typically considered. And that's usually what I gravitate towards.
That's cool. I like that. Have you ever seen the movie Magnolia? 1999.
Maybe
Paul
a couple
Thomas
years
Anderson.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, would highly recommend. That's the movie I always think of when I think of like interconnectedness. It's all about, like, it's got a very, honestly, I think about it, kind of a British sensibility in that way. That's cool. Okay, well, let's get into the movies. So 7% Solution. Why'd you pick it?
7% Solution because, well, I'd seen your TikTok channel, and I'd seen you like a lot of older movies, and I've read all of Sherlock Holmes stories. Like, I had an omnibus of it, that you got from Barnes & Noble, brown leather, like gold lettering on it. And it's fantastic. And I read all of those. I've saw the 7% Solution, but I never really had anybody who I could recommend it to that I would like it. And it seems like you would. So I took the opportunity.
That's interesting. Well, thank you, because I loved it. Yeah, this was... so it's funny you mentioned that. I would almost recommend this movie to anybody.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's like, I was so impressed with it. It's like a slam. I think it's probably my favorite Sherlock Holmes adaptation of anything. I think that I'm trying to think, like, the Basil Rathbone one was the first one I saw, and I've seen the Robert Downey Jr. ones. And I saw the Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman ones, which solid, fine.
Yeah.
But this one, I love this. This was tremendous.
I had seen it without reading much outside of the Arthur Conan Doyle's actual canon, and I saw this, and I just loved the take, which could actually still fit within canon.
Yeah. It I actually thought so. It seemed like really modern and ahead of its time, from a craft standpoint. Like the edit, I kept writing like this is like such a fast paced. It felt so modern, like from 1976. A lot of movies from 76, you're starting to get like more into the modern pacing. But certainly a lot of movies even from that era or before can feel. They're not like and this is no fault against them. There's a lot of movies back then that are incredibly well paced and like, well, I mean, not poorly, but incredibly fast paced, I should say. But like, if you think of like, for me, whenever I think of like the movies that have done like really solid at fast pace, it's like 80s and 90s, like Raiders of the Lost Ark and Terminator 2 and like the action adventure kind of genre. Like I think really peaked 80s, 90s and stuff like that. But this one seemed like it was just breakneck. It seemed like so adventurous. It felt like a Mission Impossible movie is what it was kind of like.
Oh, I can see that. Mission Impossible 1889. Yeah.
Yeah,
I could see that.
Was actually, that was my final note in terms of my, I did want to ask you about dreamcasting, because my final note was, you can see this is my little, that's all I did, like a little, because I had to I didn't want to start on a new page, but I said this was a Mission Impossible. This was like a Mission Impossible. I loved it. And then my Dreamcast, I thought Nicol Williamson did he did a great job as Sherlock. And honestly, Duvall was probably my favorite Watson I've ever
Robert Duvall as Watson. Can you believe that? And it works really well.
I couldn't believe him. I couldn't believe the hairpiece. I couldn't believe I couldn't believe his British accent.
I was about to say, oh, we're going over here, Holmes. Yeah.
He pulls it off.
He does.
Just like, it's been years since I've read like some of the books, but like that was just like, it's like a perfect interpretation of Watson. Like, and I thought like, yeah, go ahead. Sorry. No,
you're fine. If you want to see in my opinion, what is the quintessential and about as perfect as you could get adaptation of Sherlock Holmes, and you want to watch the series from the BBC in the 80s starring Jeremy Brett.
Okay.
Jeremy Brett is probably about as Sherlock Holmes as you could get. Not only in his looks, he has that sort of equine, angular ideal of Sherlock Holmes, but in his mannerisms. We'll get into it when we talk about Hound of the Baskervilles, but a lot of earlier interpretations of Holmes did not really get his antisocialness. And that's what I really like in 7% Solution, is that he is extraordinarily antisocial because he is an extraordinarily hurting person. He has a lot of issues, which he, as brilliant as he is, probably because he is as brilliant as he is, it is so effectively been buried, yet still leaches out into his entire life,
Yeah, I thought, content warning, I thought they were going to go super dark with like his childhood trauma, this whole movie. Like some of the stuff that they suggest, I'd be curious, like how much of it, I would love to, I can't imagine the director or writer are alive anymore, Herbert Ross and Nicholas Meyer.
Yeah.
Nicholas Meyer is. Okay. He apparently wrote the book and do it. He's 79. I might see if I can see if I can reach out to him or something, because I got to know, like, I thought, so they, I mean, this is always a spoiler alert type of show. So we're assuming you've seen the movie. Speaking to the audience, like the end of the movie, like you find out that Sherlock, like the reason why he hates Moriarty is that Moriarty slept with his mom, and like it caused his dad to kill his mom, which is already incredibly dark. Like that is a mammothly dark thing to put. It's probably the darkest interpretation of Sherlock. But I also thought they were going to do something with like the British upper class history of like abuse, like like towards like from like, because like there's some scenes I remember when he's like, there's a couple moments I thought that like, are they hinting at this pretty strongly? Like the first scene when the woman Devereaux, Vanessa Redgrave, says like she says something like, you know, by the time a woman I think is 17 or something, like she's seen all the horrors that exist in the world, which is like, that's a awful statement to make. And that immediately causes Holmes to have like a panic attack and like need therapy or something. And then there's the other scene with the snake when he's freaking out and he's in his like things, and like his manifestation of Moriarty as evil is like this very phallic image of like a snake coming down a rope and then the snake sort of coming about, like coming right at him. And I was like, I was like, there's no way that like this movie, like, is this movie really going to go there? I was like, that's kind of wild if so.
It would have been horns at that point.
Yeah. But yeah, it was I don't know, it's just there's to your point about the going into the like the darkness of Holmes. I thought this did it better than anything I've seen. It was
a brilliant take, because you don't believe that a character, Holmes in all of his stories is always sort of an aloof character from humanity. He's still a human, of course, but he has some sort of, he's seen as some sort of notch above. And this take really has, it's something extraordinarily mundane and dark, because darkness, as much as we want to think of it as extraordinary, darkness is an extraordinarily mundane thing. And he has something which happens to him, you know, finding out, you know, his father finding out his mother cheated and then killing her for it, is not what you would expect to have happen to a young, great person like that.
Yeah.
Like the Steven Spielberg did Young Sherlock Holmes movie back in the 80s, and it was mainly the complete opposite. He is still, even as an adolescent, this sort of aloof, grand character. Young Sherlock Holmes is great. I still like Young Sherlock Holmes.
I think I've seen it.
It's pretty fun. It has one of the very first uses of CGI in a movie, when a stained glass knight pops out of a window and starts walking and attacks person. But that movie holds with Holmes is something separate, and at that point in his life destined for something grander. The 7% Solution makes Holmes into a normal person, because even he has to go through therapy. He's going through therapy with Sigmund Freud himself, but he's going through therapy.
I love the hypnosis scenes. About as classic of hypnosis scenes as you could get, just with the stopwatch or the timepiece. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, I thought that the Freud connection. Speaking of, you know, Alan Arkin, crazy. Like again, also just like him. Also, I'm assuming with the hairpiece, it just as Sigmund Freud doing like a German Jewish accent is like he pulls it off. I was like. I literally didn't even notice him when he know it was him when he came in, because like I think my favorite Alan Arkin is probably Little Miss Sunshine, where he's like, you know, the old crotchety sort of patriarch of the family, and he's like, you know, he's like, oh, you want to dance? You got to do this dancing, kid. You know, it's like, oh, we're gonna go on a, but then he's like totally different in this. Yeah, it's a fantastic performance.
He really stretches his legs in this. I didn't know it was him. My favorite performance of his is probably in the Get Smart movie, when he's the leader of the spy organization. That's another older shows that I watched when I was a kid. Get Smart. I loved Get Smart.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, it's pretty fun. Have you seen the Inspector Gadget cartoon?
Yes, when I was a kid.
Yeah, the guy who voices Inspector Gadget in that is Get Smart. Is Maxwell Smart in Get Smart, the star of the show.
Oh, cool. Bum, Inspector Gadget. Yeah, that's burned into my memory.
But him as Sigmund Freud, I had no idea until I looked up the cast. I will recommend this movie to people solely on the fact that, speaking of Freud and Arkin, solely on the fact that it has an intense competitive tennis match between the Jewish Sigmund Freud and an anti-Semite. That alone is worth the watch.
I love that. And I wrote a note for that. I was like, that was such a good scene. I wrote a note. I was like, I'm glad we're spending all this time on it because it's funny. And it's like, it's tennis, but it's also like a tennis racquetball type weird. Like, I don't know what type of sport it is, but there's like angled on the walls or whatever.
I say tennis because I have no idea specifics, but tennis is about as close as I can get.
I've never seen what sport they're playing. Yeah. It is a great scene, and I was like, how is this going to connect? I was like, how is this like? I was like, it's cool that there were like, it's like a 5-10 minute scene, like nicely shot, filmed, entertaining, etc. I was like, how does this connect? Oh, and then until the end, when like the Baron is revealed as one of the main bad guys, and the reason Sherlock Holmes defeats him is the same advice that I believe I can't remember who gives it. I think it's Watson gives the advice to Sigmund Freud to like, he doesn't have a backhand, focus on the backhand. And then when they're dueling later, it comes back and he gives Watson gives the advice to Sherlock Holmes when they're dueling with sabers. It's like, remember the backhand. And he doesn't have a backhand sword attack, I guess. And Sherlock guts him, finishes him off with after getting the advice. So it was like, which I love. I love when movies like, to the point about interconnected. I love when like I'll be a total geek for that when they do that type of stuff. So I was like, I don't know why the tennis, but then they pull it back. It's like, it's a meaningful tennis scene. It's like a pre, what is it, like a foreshadowing tennis
setup. Yeah, it's a setup for it. I will say my favorite movies tend to do that. This that seemed small in the beginning now comes in at the end as something that's extraordinarily significant and helps save the day.
Yeah, that's there's a great video. I don't know how much of a professional wrestling fan you are, but there's a great video by Al Snow. I don't know if you.
No, I don't know much about wrestling other than sweaty folks with each other. So.
That's pretty much you got the gist of it. I haven't watched it in years. When I was a kid, I loved it. And Al Snow was like this. He was kind of a bottom tier wrestler. Much respect to Al Snow. And then he was like a trainer and he became a really good wrestling trainer. And he gave like narrative wise like one of the best explanations of like tension in storytelling. When he's training a group of wrestlers and he's talking about the concept of heat in wrestling, like heat being like, the tension and like the anger that you build in the audience that you're trying to pay off through your physical performance of the match. And he says, it's like most wrestlers have like a finisher, right? Where they're like do a big suplex or they do like a big punch to the head. And like, that's their thing that they do in every match. But he says like, classically, that's not what you ought to do. And he gives this like long explanation of like heat as a payoff of like, you did something to me, so I'm going to return that to you. And like, you did this thing to me, so it's like you can do whatever you want in the beginning, but like when the final payoff, the most satisfying thing for the audience is going to be when you pay off that initial thing. So like if the initial thing is like a slap in the face from like the bad guy to the good guy, then like the way to like really mess with the way to really get the audience going is like, the good guy then tries to slap the bad guy back, but the bad guy ducks. And then like the whole time it's like you're kind of setting up these spots where it's like the good guy tries to like slap the guy in the face, but the bad guy stops it, or like the ref stops it, or like, it's something that he can't. And so finally when it pays off, it's like the most satisfying thing is going to be like, when you actually slap the bad guy, it's like, then you can do your finisher or whatever, but like you want to finish the match pretty quickly after that, because it's not, you're not going to get more. So the sort of weak backhand and the, and the saber and like all that, I thought, such like a well-written and well-directed kind of sequence for an action movie.
I love the narrative device, building up tension in which your audience, your reader, whatever, already wants to read what what they are or watch what they are, simply because of advertising, marketing, and whatnot. But that level of building up tension that you said makes them want to keep reading. So or keep watching. So it's an excellent thing.
Yeah. This movie, I was so impressed with it. I put the editing so well. It was shot incredibly well. When I was pulling some screenshots for this, as when we'll go through outfits in a few minutes, I think I just snuck some screenshots of just shots that I really liked out of this movie. Like great production values and the costuming. I did. It was really freaking me out. The main guy. I don't think I've ever seen anything by Nicol Williamson. I really would have liked to now because he was so good in this. And I look on his Wikipedia, and he was described by playwright John Osborne as the greatest actor since Marlon Brando. Described as Samuel Beckett as touched by genius, and viewed by many critics as the Hamlet of his generation during the 1960s. So
that's high praise.
Very high praise. I kept thinking I saw him in something, but I kept looking and I haven't. And I think it's just he sounds like a young Laurence Olivier, ironically, in this movie. He sounds like Laurence Olivier in the movie Richard III.
Yeah, I think Laurence Olivier is in this movie, too.
Yeah, he's Moriarty.
Yeah, that's right. He's Moriarty.
Yeah.
But no, I can see that. I was
Good
along the same
performance.
way. I was thinking that, what else have I seen him in? Because it seems like I've seen him in something, but I haven't.
I think he's in Excalibur is probably the most famous. He was Merlin.
Okay.
Which I don't think I've ever actually seen. But I definitely want to see. In The Exorcist 3, I think, is my buddy keeps telling me to watch that. But
I love The Exorcist 3.
Yeah, he's Father Mourning. Which I guess like 7th listed on that, whatever that is, Father Paul Mourning.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so how did you, in terms of getting into comparing the movies, did you you said we were saying that like Williamson gives, I think he was a big part in sort of giving that that more sort of emotionally driven, like kind of flawed, like kind of anxious, like traumatized version of Holmes. Rathbone, on the other hand, I will say I really like both movies. I'm excited because I'm trying to point to it in the mirror, but the collection I have here is all 14 Basil Rathbone Sherlock Holmes. So definitely gonna watch those because he just gives, like, in terms of like classic, like straight from the book Sherlock Holmes, I will say I think the Hound of the Baskervilles is like, like in terms of if I had to imagine one, like Basil Rathbone as it in the houndstooth coat, like a houndstooth, the hat or whatever. That seems like it was like central casting to do him as Holmes. Did you find that as well? Did you enjoy Hound of the Baskervilles?
I really did enjoy Hound of the Baskervilles. I have read the original story. I watched the 80s Jeremy Brett interpretation, 80s BBC Jeremy Brett interpretation, and the new the new Cumberbatch series, their interpretation of Hound of the Baskervilles. But this era of Holmes movies with Basil Rathbone, they really are their own beast. And it's so odd because they'll take certain liberties but they'll be extraordinarily faithful to the overall storyline. Of course, you cannot. You can never say that Basil Rathbone puts in a bad performance as Sherlock Holmes. He interprets Holmes as a pretty charismatic person, as opposed to the stories. Like Holmes is never just an outright awful individual. Arguably, maybe a couple times. But Rathbone makes him, he really understands the medium of film because he makes him a character you want to watch for a general audience. Like if you're just somebody who is grumpy and aloof, it's really easy. It's really easy to be annoying to watch. So Rathbone really walks a fine line in Holmes as he was written, and Holmes as the character he thinks would be best to present on screen.
Yeah. Yeah, he's it reminded me a lot of my brothers. I've not seen too many episodes of it. My brother and my friend are big Columbo fans.
Mm-hmm.
And they love all those like 60s, 70s like
Yeah.
kind of TV movie, detective shows. It kind of felt like Hound of the Baskervilles. Like, I can see why they made 14 of it. It almost seems like the Columbo of its day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and just like a kind of like this the vibe of it. It's like not too serious, like not too like it's not it wasn't going as like intense as like 7% Solution, both like in like the stuff we talked about earlier, like the stuff that it implies, or like just even the stuff that it explicitly says about like the mother-father relationship, but also even like the train sequence, which, oh my goodness, that's like one of the like it's inspired me. I wrote like a list. That's also why it probably reminded me of Mission Impossible, but that is one of the craziest, and I've seen some crazy train sequences because I've seen some like a few Bollywood movies, and the safety precautions on Bollywood movies sometimes, like in the 70s and 80s and 90s, were not what you would see today in much the same way that like Hong Kong in the 80s and 90s, or
gosh,
Hollywood
yes.
in like the 60s and 50s and all that. But this was a crazy trains is like intense. Like that was one of the best sequences, like action sequence I've ever seen. The last 10-15 minutes.
His movies are blockbusters. They really are. They're blockbusters of their day.
Sherlock Holmes movies.
Yeah, the Rathbone Holmes movies.
Oh, no, I was talking about the 7% one.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
like the train scene at the end of that.
Oh,
I do agree about the
Yeah.
Rathbone too.
But that's the thing about the movies of that era, like with The Exorcist too, and The French Connection. Oh my gosh,
Oh yeah.
that level of danger that they're in really does translate to the screen, because a lot of times they actually are in danger. Like in The French Connection, they are actually driving permitless. No, they didn't set this up with the French government. They're actually driving through streets like they do, actual streets, and filming it. It's crazy.
They're
there's
really on a train here.
Yeah. There's a lot.
It's like the main actors too. It's not like there's scenes where like the main guys are like on the like you see Robert Duvall and Alan Arkin climbing the side of a moving train.
There's a lot that you can't do. There's a lot that you can't do back then if you want to make it seem real. Like you can't have a stand-in when you have a close-up of your main two actors on the side of a train and put in another face on it. They really need to be on the other side of the train, and they also want to be, because that is their craft. That's what they do.
Yeah. It was incredible seeing, like, even shout out to Jeremy Kemp, I guess, is Carl von Leidensdorf, who plays the Baron, who's like the villain who has the sword fight with Holmes, Nicol Williamson.
Mm-hmm.
They're really on top of the train. Like, these guys are like, I don't think they're known as like particularly, like, they're not like, they're doing like Tom Cruise level stunts, but they're like, it's, they're not like, I don't know, they're not Tom Cruise. It's like, these are just like Nicol Williamson is like, he's a Shakespearean actor.
Mm-hmm. They're actors. They're regular actors. But you, I suppose you'd be expected to do more hands-on and intense things in the 70s and 60s.
I loved it. I couldn't believe it. I mean, the sequence when, I think I clipped it when we get into the outfits, but the sequence when they're about to go into the tunnel and like the guy's ducking like 10 feet before the tunnel. It's like he could get killed. Like the train's moving pretty fast. They definitely sped it up a little, but like even if you're going 10, 15 miles an hour, if you're on top of a train and you hit a wall, like the train's not stopping, the wall's not starting. So that force is going into you as your body.
You're still on. Regardless of how fast it is, you're on top of a moving train.
Yeah.
Which is how trains used to go. There used to be brakemen who would go between the cars on trains and actually physically turn a wheel to put the brakes on that particular car to fully stop a train, and they would walk along the top of trains. Wouldn't you like that job?
Honestly, I kind of want to move across the top of a train. It looks really fun. I was thinking, like, you got Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. There's a couple Indian movies. Dil Se starts off with this great train musical sequence where there's like 1,000 people on a train doing a musical number. Sholay has someone jumping onto a moving train from a cliff. The General with Buster Keaton. And I would even say, like, Mad Max Fury Road and Furiosa. They're not trains, but like it's kind of conceptually a very similar thing of like sort of the long. They feel like train sequences.
Yeah, it's a train sequence in everything but name.
Yeah. Yeah, the intensity of it to the point about comparing the two movies, like the 7% Solution, probably, I mean, in content also and everything, it just seems like it was very big budget. It was very like intense. But then the Rathbone one seemed like it was more kind of a cozy, I guess. Is that what you felt about them?
With the Hound of the Baskervilles, yeah, they've had. I've seen, like, years ago, and I can barely remember them. I've seen a couple other Rathbone Sherlock Holmes, and they do a great job at mimicking stage intensity. Like at the very beginning of Hound of the Baskervilles, it's that chase sequence. You don't see what's chasing the soon-to-be ex-head Baskerville, but it has an intensity in its way. That's why I said they're the blockbusters of their day. It seems really cozier now because it has higher. It has, if you're looking at this on a wave, it has a more pronounced ups and downs than I think something like the 7% Solution has. Like, of course, it has its quieter moments and the moments where, traveling and speaking and exposition. But I think for what it is, in the Hound of the Baskervilles, it has intense spikes for 30s movies, because this is basically the stage play. Like Rathbone himself was, of course, back then everybody was once the stage, or vaudeville like Three Stooges or Buster Keaton. It's easy to see all of this as sort of quaint, and it is. It is. It's early film, but given the context of it, it really does get pretty intense.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the scenes that they did in like with a lot of the night shots were so good. It was very spooky going through like it was a big set, right? It's like beautiful big set.
I love sets. On sound stages.
I love sets. Where this is my TikTok channel is definitely just filled with just luxuriating in the in all these beautiful sets. This was like my buddy that I live with is huge Gothic horror fan, so that was one of the reasons I also wanted to watch this, because like the Gothic nature of this is just like, just absolutely gorgeous. The sets, the costumes, everything. It's even like the little gun sequence was done really well. That's honestly kind of, I guess, what I was surprised. Like, I'm trying to think to your point about. I keep thinking about your point about the big budget stuff, or like the blockbuster of their day. Like, it's almost like I haven't seen the 80s, the one that you mentioned, the 80s at the Jeremy Brett adaptation, but it's kind of interesting how very like blockbustery I think almost every adaptation I've seen is, because like the Basil Rathbone one seems like kind of blockbustery. 7% certainly is like as blockbustery as anything I've seen. The TV show, the Sherlock Holmes with Benedict Cumberbatch, is like very blockbustery, and the Robert Downey Jr. ones. It's
oh my gosh,
Ritchie,
absolutely,
right? Like,
yeah.
Those are total ones. So, is the 80s BBC one, or are there any other adaptations that are like more literary?
The 80s BBC one, yeah. If you're looking for actual, like, cozy Holmes, it's the one with Jeremy Brett. Now, it has its moments of tenseness. It's not action. There'll be, like, sort of brief moments of where action happens, like, very brief fights, a couple shootouts, but it is more of the slower contemplative style of Sherlock Holmes from the stories, which themselves can get pretty actiony too. But this it doesn't sell it on. It doesn't sell itself on the intenseness of it with Jeremy Brett.
Yeah. Did you see any, like, aside from it obviously being Sherlock Holmes, did you see, like, any connections, I guess, about, like, between the two that you thought were, like, ways that they sort of overlapped in their interpretation of Holmes or Watson, or besides, like, the dress or whatever, like,
Yeah.
or do you think they were pretty different?
I'd have to say there's a lot of difference.
Is there, like, a difference that you would point to as, like, this is, like, kind of interesting about watching these two movies together?
Mainly, in the 7% Solution, even when Holmes is manically depressive and out of control of himself, I'm going to roll that right back and start with the Hound of the Baskervilles. In the Hound of the Baskervilles, Holmes is always on top of everything, and that comes from the stories. Holmes knows what's going on at every moment in time, and he's control of the situation, and that's what I think a lot of people liked and do like about these old Sherlock Holmes shows, is that Holmes is always in control. Even when something big is happening on screen, or when someone is found dead, you never feel as if Holmes is on a back foot. Even in other media or in other shows when Holmes is captured, or there's an assassination attempt on him, there's a confidence in that he is with it. And with the 7% Solution, you see that Holmes is still on top of his mystery solving. He's still the Sherlock Holmes that we know. But where it comes to Sherlock Holmes being on top of Sherlock Holmes, he isn't. He's about as vulnerable as it gets as a person at that point. And that is a major difference that I've seen, is a sort of vulnerability in Sherlock Holmes between the two.
Absolutely.
Rathbone has a really good bonhomme with Watson, and it's sort of a friendship and mentor situation, which is still in the 7% Solution version, but you see more of Watson caring back for Holmes when he is not able to take care of himself. And that's something that I really like about the 7% Solution, is the exploration of Watson as a character more.
Yeah, he seems like a friend everyone would love to have.
He's a ride or die.
Yeah, he's I really Duvall's performance of that, I was so skeptical, because I was like, I don't think I've ever heard Duvall do an accent, and then obviously with the hairpiece and everything else, I was like, how is he going to pull this off? But he just gives it a surprising amount of characterization, I guess, as well, like just like in looks, and just like
Robert Duvall, you mean the guy that does westerns?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember I don't know if I've seen him in many westerns, to be honest with you.
I've seen him in.
I know he's been in.
Oh yeah, I've seen him in one.
I know exactly which one you're talking about. I can't remember the name of it. The Godfather and a lot of this other stuff. He's a great actor, but Yeah, this is a stacked cast too. I mean, because Nicole Williamson does well, but then Duvall Arkin, Olivier, Vanessa Redgrave, and all just these sort of wonderful British. I'm assuming, to your point, like you said, stage actors and everything. Shot beautifully. I don't know who Oswald Morris is. Have I seen anything? I probably should have looked up. Oh, cool. Oh, well, this is exciting. He, Oswald Morris, the cinematographer, did Lolita, which I haven't seen, but I'm guessing it's going to be good because it's Kubrick. I think it's the last Kubrick movie I haven't seen.
Oh, yeah.
He did this movie called The Pumpkin Eater, which I'm going to watch pretty soon, which is a adaptation of, adapted by Harold Pinter, who is my brother's favorite writer and is really good. He also did The Battle of the Villa Fiorita, which it's like going to be the last of the Delmer Daves movies that I watch. Mm-hmm. And he did The Dark Crystal, so which looks great. The Man with the Golden Gun, the 1974 Dracula. He did
was that the Hammer Dracula with Count Dooku and
Jack Palance?
Oh, Jack Palance. Okay, I have not seen
Jack
that
Palance
one.
Dracula. Yeah, I'm excited for that. Jack Palance is such a unique looking dude.
And he has a very unique speech as well. Like anything you said, like Batman in '89. He did a couple. I think he did an appearance on one of the Western TV shows as an antagonist, and he was an antagonist in this fantasy movie that I forget the name. But he has an extraordinary, unique way of speaking.
Yeah, he's a great. Yeah, I love him in Shane is my favorite. Lance, he's the bad guy in I don't know if you've ever seen the George Stevens movie with Alan Ladd and Van Heflin. Shane. It's like if you want a Western, it's like the most classic. It's the Western of all Westerns for like just classic, like the most like if you had to think of a Western in your head, it's like it's so good. And he's the bad guy, and
you said it was Shane.
Shane, yeah, just Shane, Shane. Okay. He's the bad guy that just that comes into town, and like it's another very class conscious movie. Actually, I should add it to my list because I've been talking about that a lot lately. But like these rich landowners are trying to push these individual farmers out and like rustle their land. And Jack Palance is one of the guys they hire to be like a hired gun. And then Alan Ladd is Shane, who wants to escape from the violence, but of course he never can. It's a Western.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be a duel, and then there's a duel, and it's great. Yeah, this is so beautifully shot. I will say it has one of my favorite lines I think I've ever. I want to make sure I get this line exactly right because I'm going to put this on my TikTok. They're the most intelligent horses in the world, and they've been trained to kill. I bust out laughing when I heard that. That's such like the fact that they sell that line, and then it's a great, like, kind of horrifying, like, terrifying scene of, like, the horses chasing him around in the, was so fun. Is that in the, like, I guess it's, well, this is not a book based on Conan Doyle, right?
I think it's based off a 7% Solution actual book itself.
Yeah.
But you can consider the 7% Solution as a behind the scenes, behind the story sort of story.
Yeah,
because I
think the same writer, right? I believe the guy, when I was just looking it up, the guy who wrote the movie, wrote the book. Yeah, that's really cool. I love just some other thing like Watson or Holmes when they're about to see the I can't remember, he like covers up Watson's eyes and says, "Watson, the Queen wouldn't like it." They're like when they're in the brothel.
That's another thing that they get good in this is Holmes' scolding of Watson, because he does it a lot throughout here. Like when they have tracking dogs trying to track, and Watson smoking his pipe, and Holmes, the prolific smoker, is like, "Watson, please don't overwhelm them."
Yeah. Yeah, it's just so, I'm trying to like this is like, so I took like 12, like probably 10 pages of notes on this. It's just so, yeah, it's just so, I mean, yeah, just looking at this, like Duvall, the pacing, like the fog, like, I mean, I do like, it was interesting at the beginning. They present it. I can't remember how they present it, but they present it like a real story. They do kind of I always think of the Coen brothers doing that in Fargo, where like they say this is based on a true story, and it's just not at all.
It's just,
sort of
yeah,
like
it's just a lie.
they do pull your biography thing. But they did that at the beginning, I think, in the credits here, where it's like they kind of set up some things as like they talk about it as like these characters are real, this character is not real, or something like that. I thought that was pretty neat. I don't think anything related to Sherlock Holmes was based on truth, correct, or fact? Am I asking the right guy? You can probably tell me that they are.
Not like the stories that Doyle made up everything, like this, like all of the exploits. He made up Sherlock Holmes based off a teacher of his when he was getting his medical degree called Dr. John Bell. He had that analytical type of mind that Holmes has. If you know the stories, if you know Dr. Watson, you know Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. If you know Sherlock Holmes, you know Dr. John Bell. He taught Doyle basically to be a problem solver, to use the information he has at hand, make inferences, and how to look for further information, which really is what Sherlock Holmes is based off of.
I want to switch a little bit in about your general relationship with movies, and then we can go into fits in a few. I keep teasing the fit section. Like, what are you looking for? It's interesting. Like, I think this is going to be the third week in a row or third episode in a row. I don't know how often I'll be releasing these. Where I'm talking with someone like from the literary world. Like I talked with my professor, my thesis advisor, I was a writing major in college, and he's written a couple books. And then I talked with the last episode was this guy, Dear Idiot Reader, who runs he kind of does what I do for movies, but for books on TikTok. Shout out to Dear Idiot Reader. Fun episode. We did 2 adaptations of Anna Karenina. So kind of similar to this. And now we did two, not, well, I guess in a way, two like interpretations of Sherlock Holmes. So it's been interesting. Like, I've been trying to ask them both, like, how do they, like, coming from sort of the writing background or writing world, one of the themes that I want to explore in this show is just the different way people enjoy movies and engage with them as an art form. So I guess, like, when you're looking for, whether it's like a normal movie, like a non-adaptation or an adaptation or something you're familiar with from the literary world, like, what are you looking for in a movie? Like, what are the things that, like, you really like, I really want it. Is that, like, definable for you?
What I'm looking for in a movie, I am pretty leaf on the river where it comes to movies.
What does that mean? You have to explain that. I don't know if
I'm
is that Southwest Virginia phrase?
It's something I just made up.
Okay. There's the writer in you.
There we go.
Yeah. It'd be a good title for a book. Sorry to keep interrupting.
Leaf on the river. Yeah. I have to do that under pen name. That sounds like a literary fiction one.
Yeah.
I'm very drawn along on currents. I don't know if I can actually define what I look for in a movie. I will see an interview or a preview, like, oh, this looks fantastic. I don't actively seek out movies. I'm really drawn along to just things coming out, things that pop up in front of me, things that I see on TikTok, which is really...
Do you have a favorite movie?
I like a lot of the Spielberg popcorn movies, like Jurassic Park. My feel-good movie is the '89 Batman.
It's a great movie.
Oh my gosh, I wore that tape out when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I sort of like ping between whatever I see in the moment. I was like, oh, that looks interesting. Let's watch that.
Gotcha. Have you thought about your stuff being adapted as movies?
Yeah, I've thought about it. I can't exactly say that I would have much faith that it would actually happen. They're very they're not very like conventional movie narratives. A lot of things would have to change.
Is there a movie that would sort of tonally match the kind? I was thinking, to go back to the Terry Pratchett conversation. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know that I've seen like a Terry Pratchett adaptation in a movie.
There've been.
Oh, I was going to say the only one I think I can probably think that I would maybe trust to do it would be like vintage Terry Gilliam, like Monty Python era, like Time Bandits, Adventures of Baron Munchausen, Brazil, like another Terry, like that era of Terry Gilliam. I think would do a great job at doing Terry Pratchett, but I don't know that I've seen anything since then where it sort of that I would like. I don't know if I've seen a director since then that I would say like, okay, they seem like they would nail the sensibility of it. I guess like, is there, when you think about like one of your stories, if you're sort of in that similar bar park, is there a movie that you've seen or a director that you've seen that's like, I wish like if someone was to discover my stuff, like that would be the guy or gal that I would want to adapt it.
I would like Bong Joon-ho to do just about anyone.
Oh, that's a great answer.
He has the sort of... He has a dichotomy of something horrific happening while simultaneously something hilarious happening.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But he also has a good filmmaking for... a good story making for a rot beneath the surface that I really like Parasite. Not less Snowpiercer, because Snowpiercer is just everything's gone to hell, so it's all up front.
Another train movie, right? I haven't seen that.
Yeah, another train movie. It's sort of fairy tale like, which is what I would like to see in the adaptation of Just About Anyone. Is that fairy tale bluntness, humor.
Yeah, that okay, goodness, I'm gonna make sure, and might have to apologize for the listeners, but I'm gonna make sure and write down when we do movie recommendations, because you just spurred some recommendations based on honestly, I might even just give them based on. There's a couple of Eastern European movies, I think, that sort of got some of the sensibility a bit more, that I think maybe some of the Eastern European directors could potentially do like more stuff like Terry Gilliam or like your books.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure, and that's the sound of me typing there. That is interesting. Yeah, so Bong Joon-ho, I'd never thought that the comparison of him as like is that.
I think he's itching to do a fairy tale, like an actual fantasy fairy tale.
It makes sense. I haven't seen Okja or whatever, but I've heard that's kind of seems more fairy tale-ish about. I think it's a girl with like a pig or something, or some type of animal.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen it though. I do think he is very, like, now that you say, I've never thought to compare him and Terry Gilliam, but there is a lot of Gilliam, I think, in his, I'd be curious if he's ever talked to, or if he's seen it, or what he himself thinks about it. Because like I've seen Memories of Murder and Parasite, but they're two dynamite movies that I love. And yeah, the humor of like the bleakness and the humor combined with the bleakness and the way he's able to do it is, yeah, very, very Gilliam-esque. That's cool. I hope, yeah, I would love to see, honestly, just fantasy in general, I think is like at a pretty, talk about this, my brothers are huge fantasy heads. They love, they read a ton of fantasy and they love all that, and they've been pretty, they feel like they've been kind of morose over the last 20 years about the state of like fantasy in movies, compared with like some of the earlier stuff. So I'm hoping that it can pick back up for them.
Fantasy doesn't get weird in movies anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't. There's a couple of the movies I was going to suggest, like the The Hourglass Sanatorium is one. It's a Polish movie. Actually, it was just one of my friends is in Poland at the moment, and so I was telling him to watch that because he's visiting, I think, his girlfriend's Polish family.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like a weird. This guy's like going through a mental hospital, but it's like decrepit. But it's the movie's also about the Holocaust, but it's also not, and it's also he's like going through fantastical times, like Renaissance times, and there's like wax figures, and then there's not, and it's surreal, and it's truly fantastical. It's like. The only way I can describe it is like it's almost like a Dark Souls type. It's the closest thing I've seen to having like the feeling of if you're a Dark Souls video game player.
Yeah, I've played some of that.
Yeah.
What a movie poster! I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah. I think it's Wojtek Haas, I think.
From the screenshots, it looks like it's. Oh my gosh! It looks like an early version of Return to Oz.
I haven't seen that, but yeah, it's really good. It doesn't make any sense, and it's very very fantastical.
Okay, I need to watch that one then.
Yeah, it's really good. All right, let's do some fits, and then we can do some movie recommendations.
Right, now that everybody's listened to the end for the fits, let's give them what they want.
Yeah, let's give them what they want. Okay, let me make sure I got my. Okay, let me share that window, and sweet. Okay, so how can I do this? I'm trying to think of a way that would do it. Probably should just do it. I'm gonna have to move you. I want to make sure I'm sort of looking at the camera while I do this as well. Let's do this. Okay, so I can see you, and I got my screen. All right, so we got some fits here. Let's go from the top. Feel free to just chime in. I took a whole bunch of screenshots of this, but the menswear in the Hound of the Baskerville I thought was really, really quite nice. What do you think of this guy?
I like the high collar, the high shirt collar.
Yeah, upturned.
Yeah,
He's almost like was that like the frat boy fit you think of the time? Like, I'm thinking of like 10 years ago when people wore like the 3 polo shirts or whatever.
The pop their collars.
Yeah.
It's another thing that sort of indicates money. Yeah. Like you were able to afford starch to keep the collar up.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, this fit, you got the pocket watch in there. That's great. Mm-hmm. This is just a kind of a, collection of great fits in the movie.
There's something
starting off with this lady. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
The veils, the veils over the face.
Yeah. The veil, the fur coat, I like the texture. It seems like a little velvety bow tie, or I guess bow or whatever there. This guy, again, good menswear fit. A little upturned collar. This I really like on the texture of this. I don't know if I can zoom in there, but the texture of the tie looks nice. It's a good contrast.
It does look like it looks silk, which everything else looks cotton. People will think
he's a servant too, right? Isn't this guy the servant? He's a servant. So
yeah, he's the Baskervilles butler. So
yeah.
People will look at these and look at these old movies and think, oh, men used to dress the same way, but not if you actually look at what they're wearing.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like this versus this one versus.
There's a template, yes, but there are a lot of personality customizations to everything that they're wearing.
Yeah. Yeah, this is so let's see. I'm trying to still get in the controls of this. Okay, I just go down there. Yeah, these guys' glasses I loved.
Oh, the pince-nez, yeah. Well, you
the
just fit them
Morpheuses.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. That guy was great. Again, I really love this lady's whole fit's great. But the hat, everything.
That was certainly a bonnet. That was
that
was a lot of a bonnet, yeah.
That was a lot of a bonnet. Again, you got the veil, the fur. I think I screenshotted for this guy. This guy was in another movie that that I watched recently, Hudson's Bay, which is a Laird Krieger movie with Paul Muni, where he plays like a similar kind of villain. We were trying to place him, me and my buddy, when we were watching it. He was like, "Oh, that's that guy." Another great thick tie, pocket chain.
Yeah.
This I love. This is one of my favorite fits in the movie.
The smoking jacket.
Yeah, the smoking jacket. The pleat. It looks just looks like a pillow.
They are comfortable. I have one.
Really?
It is very, very soft and very comfortable. Yeah, but they're heavy. You wouldn't expect it so, but they are heavy.
That's, honestly, I want to wear this stuff, but I sweat, and it's like obviously in East Tennessee,
Yeah.
like most of the year, it's pretty warm. So maybe I'll dress like this if I move somewhere colder. Speaking of robes or smoking jackets, I love the design on the collar there as it's going down. Also a great. Oh, I just my scrolling started working. Also a great maid fit.
Yeah,
Over.
that's your quintessential maid.
Yeah, great. Got the cane here. Their pipe. It's funny, he's got the smoking jacket on, but he's the one with the pipe.
Holmes did not care if smoke got on his clothes.
Yeah. I like the tie here. I really like that.
Is that a paisley?
Calling that one out. I think so. My dad would know. My dad used to have a collection of beautiful paisley ties. I also like the sort of the double collar here, whatever that is. That's great.
Those arrow nah.
This actually I thought was one of the cooler sequences. So this is when they're flashing back to like Holmes telling, or not Holmes, but someone is telling a story, or maybe they're reading it.
The doctor,
Go ahead, sir.
the doctor in Dartmoor is telling about.
That's right.
The beginning of the Baskerville curse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. And then they sort of, it's like kind of like framed by this writing. That's really cool. And you got a nice pilgrim fit here. I guess this is not pilgrims, but it's just older, maybe.
It's like
17th
English
century
Civil
Britain.
War, Cromwell era English.
Yeah. A great maid fit. Yeah, this one, this guy used this coat for quite a while. I like this. It's sort of like a big plaid thing.
I was wondering, is that tartan? But I don't think it is. It's just a plaid.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. These two ladies, really, yeah, it's just, both these are great. The hats, I mean, you can even see production values. I really liked even seeing the background characters are so well dressed in both these movies that it was super nice. Again, you can kind of see the tie, but this time he's got the fit with the hat.
Yep, that beaver skin hat.
Is that what that is? Is it a beaver skin?
Yeah, they used to be made of beaver skins. Yeah.
Look at that. I'm learning something. This suit I thought was great. The texture of it looked quite nice.
Now that's a very sort of Edwardian style suit, like 1920s style suit.
Is it? Yeah, I
just
wonder
by
with
the cut.
pockets and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to learn more about this, honestly. And you got them in the, I guess those are some more beaver skin hats. Nice the texture on there.
It's got a good lapel.
Another good this is one of the ladies we were talking about before, where they kind of made her like, she's like quaintly stupid and funny, where she's just like, it's like an affectionate sort of like stupidity this character has.
Yeah, yes, we know you have no idea what's going on, dear. That's okay.
Yeah, that's great. I like her fit on that. This guy, I think this is he's not the cab driver.
Yeah, he is the cabbie at the beginning.
Oh, he's a different cab. Yeah, that's right. I don't know what's going on here with this collar, but that's nice.
I have no idea. It looks like he's got a
the
beard.
hair. I would do his hair differently. I think that's that's a bit much. I wouldn't flatten it that much, but
he's
it
certainly
does look like a bib.
Yeah, he's certainly keeping Dapper Dan in business with that hair.
Yeah, very slick. It's a great Watson fit. The chain going across. Yeah, to your point about the diversity in menswear, like this doesn't look like anything else in the movie, right?
Yeah. Well, he's the only one I've seen out of this movie that wears a double-breasted vest. But that watch chain is hanging on for dear life. He needs a bigger one. But but yeah, he also has, that's a very sort of military-esque and doctor-esque outfit he's wearing right now.
That's a good point. Yeah, the polka dot is kind of forward. I do like the touch of it. It's a little bit, almost belies something about him where he's like, you'd expect it to be more, it really kind of lightens it quite a
It's
bit,
Casual Friday. Yeah.
Again, the matching of the textures, that's something I think probably on Twitter, everybody follows the menswear guy. I think he's like, love that guy on Twitter, Die Workwear. But he always talks about, when he does his little lessons, like the like how it's not just like one texture, but it's like matching different textures and like, different textures between like the coat and the scarf, the hat. And so you see this in both, even like with the gloves, I really quite like.
Well,
all three of these.
There's a whole lot about just this one screenshot. So let's take a look at the pipes that they're smoking. Young Baskerville there on the left. He's got a briar. It's probably Dunhill and whatnot, but it's more than likely an expensive kind. And he's dressed very sort of modern, trendy for the day, because that's like a driving cap that he's got on. Of course, he's got that plaid overcoat that he's got. He's trendy, very high money trendy. Now, if you look at Watson, the pipe he's smoking is made of apple wood, and it's a very rugged style of pipe. Watson knows that he's going to Dartmoor, which is it's a rural.
It's in the country.
Yeah, it's a very country place, and he's also wearing gloves. His overcoat's a lot thicker and a lot sturdier material than Baskervilles is over there. So Watson knows where he's going, and he's going there as a working man, sort of. And you have the doctor on the right who lives there, and he knows exactly what he needs to wear, and he's not doing anything different. So just this one screen grab shows how much care that they put into storytelling and character development in what they're wearing and using.
That's a great point. I hadn't even thought of it like that, but yeah, it is. It's neat. You know, I love it. Like, you know, I get. It's funny. You know, I get a little mad. Like, you know, I spoiler alert for people out there. I really didn't like the movie Nosferatu that came out. I get a bit mad about like modern like stuff when there's I feel like there's an obsession with like historical reality. Like it's almost like pejoratively I call them like nerd homework stuff, like movies or stuff where it's like, you know, well, we got the historical accuracy right, so it must be a good movie. Like,
yeah,
it's like there's so much more that goes into it. But having said that, I think what you just described there is brilliant. Like the characterization of that, like even if it's not necessarily like period accurate, or if it's like more exaggerated, or if it's like the fact that, to your point, it's all like for a purpose, I think is the most important. And then it does reward like further, like, you know, it's honest to the, like him having the applewood pipe or whatever, like more of a rugged thing. Like, you know, that stuff comes out. It's nice to see. I
really do love this visual style of storytelling, because especially if you're in the 30s, you just from watching this, you know exactly all of these people's characters. So it's fantastic.
Yeah. So then they go, this is where I really like the way this coat looked, as it sort of more light hits it. And you got her dress is pretty neat.
It's very, very stark. It really, and the brooch, the profile picture brooch.
Yeah. This is another alternate. I love the way the hair is, the mustache, immaculate, and then this is a great way to answer a door. You know, just gun out, smoking jacket, ring.
He looks like he's about to go to bed, but his hair is still slicked back and.
Yeah, my buddy has hair like this, and he could totally pull. You're joking. He could pull off this fit.
Yeah.
This is another. I really love this one. I guess this is kind of it's like a robe smoking jacket type thing.
Yeah, it looks like a house coat.
Yeah, just the pattern on it is like super. It is super, super nice. And you see them; they get their coats on, I should say.
Oh my gosh! Because they have about 6 coats all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. This guy, this is a great crazy guy fit. You know, if you're gonna be a crazy guy, this is what you want to do. As a connoisseur of the crazy. Another great. I love the way she this shawl or whatever she had. It was great, and the way her hair was done. Great costuming on there. Again, he's in the sort of same type of fit.
Yeah.
To your point about the cut. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, he's in every scene I've seen him in. He really does have English high class servant. Just the same type of clothing, and it's very, very plain but very neat and well done. So. Yeah.
Aside from this, almost looks like he should be in like a Jane's Addiction type band, or like some type of new rock band.
The goatee, yeah.
Yeah. Which, much respect. You know, one thing to your point about the cuts of this, this is a very athletic cut here. Like, this is very rugged.
It's got the vents in the back.
Rugged. Yeah, it's almost like a safari type thing. It's got the
Mm-hmm.
belt. It's really really nice. And then he's using the fog and the vignetting that they have around the sides. So good. Yeah, I love that. This is such a nice. I'd love to have this coat and the
I
whole hat.
know.
Both of them, honestly. The textures on, you can see how fuzzy this is. It's just
Oh
so.
yeah, that is tweed as it can be.
Yeah. Then you got the pop collar. You got the little more. His tie's a little bit lower. His tie's a little bit. He's a little more tighter. Kind of suggests a loosening of the character a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a great outfit for her. She's in this quite a bit. Great, kind of, I think, like riding kind of. I think there's pants under there too, but potentially, or maybe was she riding side saddle?
It looks like she's
I thought
riding
she
sides.
wasn't.
Yeah, she's a bit. It looks like she's a bit too forward to actually be straddling.
Yeah. Another great, yeah. Then they go white tie, and again
For dinner.
This is great. Yeah, if you're going to be berating people, I've seen older members of my family do this sort of lean forward
with the hand out.
Yeah, if they dress like that, I'd probably tolerate it better. And again, to your point about the variety, you got the different collars here.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the vest on, no vest there. Even the cut of their.
Even their ties are tied in slightly different ways. Like
Yeah, they
Watson
are.
has a longer, wider tie configuration.
He's a bit frumpier.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's you can kind of tell he's a little bit. I mean, from what I remember, he's like a bit more ill at ease in this world as opposed to like, this guy's just like Dapper Dan, right?
Exactly.
He's ready to go. I love this dress. This is. I love these. This is probably one of my favorite ways that they do, where they have the sort of the sheer with the lace on the women's stuff at this era. Another great outfit from this lady. Great necklace. Sorry, you were saying with the.
Oh, with the sequins on it.
Yeah, I love it. It actually
mantle there.
reflected. I wish I had like a GIF version of this, but it reflected really well in the light there. Yeah, again, this is just with the belt. I mean, this is a tremendous fit. I'm not so big on the hair. I got to say, I don't really like the hair. Kind of almost looks like 16th century judge hair. It almost looks like George Washington wig hair.
They're really doing a lot with that hair. Like,
Yeah.
There's about 5 different hairstyles that she has on right now.
Yeah. But the clasp, I mean, the belt, I mean, the lace, the detail, this is all the way it puffs out, the silhouetting.
And that belt is excellent because it widens out in the front and narrows on the sides, and it's excellent at accentuating her waist.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great. Then you got the texture and the rolling. It might be a little hard to see, but the roses on here versus some more of the stems up there. It's great. Another great. This is during the seance scene when she kind of sits in. She's sitting back. This is great lighting on this. All the upward lighting. You can see sort of the dress in motion. All the great menswear in motion. Yeah.
That is definitely women's riding outfit from late 19th century.
Beautiful one. I love this. I love this. This is like, it looks so good in motion too. I tried to grab some screens while she's walking, but the silhouetting and like, yeah, the figure on this and the neck poofiness is, hopefully I think I have like a little clasp. It's great.
I love riding wear on like men's and women's riding wear. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's neat and it is sort of, it's buttoned up. I like it.
Yeah. And the hat, the way she's sitting, she's got the gloves are a perfect match even too. Like, yeah, his is pretty good. I mean, I do like, I don't know if he's riding in this or if he's just walking. Like, I would sweat so bad if this was my walking outfit. I would be drenched within like 2 minutes.
We would need to go to Dartmoor. I think it's going to be pretty cold. So.
Yeah. This is, of course, Sherlock's disguise as a crazy guy.
Sherlock Holmes has done crazy guys like a lot. That's his go-to, is to go to somebody who's just outlandishly insane.
It's very Scooby-Doo coded because it's just like, oh, it's like, who else could this be but Basil Rathbone and Sherlock Holmes? But, another great shawl with the crazy guy. Again, you got more of this. Yeah, the texture on this one again, so poofy. More great. This seems like an outfit. This reminds me of like playing baseball. I was always a high socks guy when I played baseball, so Maybe if I just got a coat and put it over my old baseball uniform.
Oh, there you go. I think that would work.
Yeah. Then you see he should not be half in this outfit. This is a terrible look. You got to go full crazy guy or not.
They liked doing that in these movies because I remember
they did in the 7% Solution too, right?
Yeah. There was one right when the I forget the name of the story, but right when Holmes comes back after faking his death, he barges into him and Watson's old rooms, and Watson's there, and I think in this movie, with the Rathbone movie, he's trying to sell something, and Watson's like, I don't want anything, I don't want it. And Watson turns around to open up the door back to shoo this peddler out, and he turns around and it's just Holmes undressing from his costume, and they love to do that sort of reveal in these.
Yeah. It's I love I love it. I love the gimmickness of it. It's just like, it's so, it doesn't matter how realistic or not it is, or like how much you can tell it's Basil Rathbone, because they draw the scene out too. It's just like, it's just cool. I just like it. So here you got, finally they're in the classic sort of Sherlock Holmes. This is the
He's
silhouette.
got his deerstalker hat, yeah.
Yeah, the deerstalker. He's got the beautiful texture on this coat. Again, lovely. But this is like very much the classic Holmes and Watson. You got the cane, you got the deerstalker. This is about as, I don't know if I like the hat that this guy's paired with, or it reminds me of like the traditional U.S. Army uniform a bit, where they have like the darker pants and the lighter coat, which I like, but I don't know if I like it with this texture quite a bit. Then you got more of the silhouette, more here. And then this is very much the classic shirt. Now he's like in full Sherlock Holmes silhouette here with the pipe and the crossed arms and the deducing as he's trying. I thought this was going to be, I can't remember what movie did it. Maybe I've seen a Sherlock Holmes where there are someone's secret. What movie maybe it's a different movie where there's, please sound off in the comments or DM me, where there's like actual eyes behind this portrait.
Oh my gosh.
Are they doing that thing?
There's tons. It's a whole trope. And I think, was it in the 7% Solution? I cannot remember.
I don't think so, but yeah, it's. I know it's been a ton, but I wish I could remember.
You know how
I almost want to say I've seen it, Sherlock.
You know how tropey it is, because both of us are like, is it in this movie? I think it's in this movie, because we expect it to be there.
If you want to go insane, I don't know if you know this internet thing, but the when you said like it's so much of a trope, for viewers out there, if you want to go insane as well, there's the phrase it doesn't do anything. That's the beauty of it. Or something like that, where it sounds like you've heard that in a million things, but no one online has been able to trace the origin of that.
See, that sounds like a Doc Brown, like from Back to the Future line. Yeah,
it sounds like a Doc Brown. It sounds like, again, it could be Monty Python. It could be like, again, more of the classic Holmes Watson. I love the back projection that they did on here.
I always like back projection.
Yeah. I think that's what it's called. Hopefully I'm using that term right. Love the texture on this coat, the pattern on it too, paired with the ascot. This is great. Again, her hair, not a big fan, but this dress and especially the design of the pairing of the necklace with it, I think is.
Those shoulders look like they have armor pieces, like padding in them.
Like she's very World of Warcraft.
She's about to go play rugby after that.
Yeah. Yeah, World of Warcraft, I don't know if you ever played that, has a lot of, they were obsessed with pauldrons. More of this, you get to see in motion. This, I actually really quite like this fit, where he has sort of the white, I love a very clean, looks like a very fluffy white scarf on that coat. Yeah. All right, so we're going to move, I'm going to probably just more quickly scan through. I did like this fit with the nightgown and the coat that this lady had, and I'm going to see if I think we're getting closer towards the end here, because I did want to talk about, there's so many good fits in 7% Solution. So looks like we go. So yeah, the another just sort of classic couple fits he has, and again, that coat comes back. But yeah, just good menswear in this and good women's wear. Just overall, like, the costume is very, they were cut so well. I wish I had a tailor that could dress me like this.
Oh, right.
One day when I have money.
I was about to say, when we have money.
Yeah. When you can afford that, that's the second R in your name. You're Carl R. Jennings. And I make my millions. So yeah, 7% solution. Wow. This one starts out with a banger. This red dress here is gorgeous.
With the blue lines at the bottom is fantastic.
I would wear this fit.
Yeah.
I honestly, like, I would probably, like, with the paisley robe too, like, or the paisley shawl, the purple, the brooch. I mean, and then you got his, this looks warm. It looks like this is sort of a winter coat there because it's got the pleats or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the beautiful, totally Robert Duvall's actual hair.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Then you got the, again, this is just like, yeah, I mean, I love this fit. It's a crazy guy answering the door. Even to your, the detail of like just this being askew, you got the books askew.
Mm-hmm.
Like the set design in this was so good.
That's, Sherlock is bad when he won't let Mrs. Hudson into the rooms to clean.
Yeah. Laurence Olivier looking a bit old in this. This, you talk about stars of the movie. I love this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what this is. This looks like a quilt. It looks like she sewed up a quilt and made it a dress, but with the hair and everything.
I think she's wearing a bolero, but an extraordinarily flamboyant one.
A bolero.
Yeah, it's like this short coat jacket thing. Is that cut about rib?
Oh, is that a coat?
Yeah, it looks like that's a coat that she's wearing.
It's like a matching bolero.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I guess that could be a coat right there. The detail on this is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just love this, like, and the necklace matching with it too. I just love seeing this stuff in movies, to be honest. That's kind of one thing I, wanted to talk about my channel and everything. I just like looking at it. That's like,
I like when a costuming department goes, makes something that is the idea of the era that they're in. Even if it's not completely, even if it's not completely accurate, it feels like it should be. Yeah,
truth as opposed to fact, for sure.
So it has to work with the movie as well.
It's a throwback to the Basil Rathbone one.
Another smoking jacket.
That looks thick. The texture on the collar there looks like it's like 4 inches deep. Like you could fall asleep on it.
Sit in a wingback chair.
Yeah, the detail on it is his lipstick, his like stage lipstick is crazy in a couple scenes in this. But the detail on the collar too, like with the little spade there, is nice. I like that. You got another classic. It's a very American Watson, I will say. Like almost like, he's doing like a, just like he's in a Western. Now that you pointed that out, like this is a Western look.
Well, to win just before the tennis match when the Baron insults Freud, and watching it just immediately goes to violence. That is a very American sort of mentality, because they would all be appalled, but Watson leaps to his feet and smacks him.
Yeah, so. I've seen that happen. That's like a high school gym thing. Again, the pleats on this, wonderful, look deep. This is Moriarty, not Moriarty.
Mycroft. Mycroft, yeah. Surprisingly enough, he plays Mycroft in the Jeremy Brett show.
I saw that on Wikipedia. I think it's him and in the Baron, I believe, both reprised their roles.
Yeah, the Baron is I forget. Yeah, but he's in it too. Yeah.
This is another thing I love, and a big complaint of mine is like shallow focus in movies nowadays, like cinematographically. Probably apologies if you listen to the podcast because I'm probably going to complain about this every episode. But not being able to see the background and stuff, like this is just they do such a good job, and like the framing of this is it's like the infinite sort of down with the mirror, but then even like just a visual gag of like having this guy. Like this is like intentional framing.
I was about to say they blocked it to have the bust in there as if he's a character.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, because that's what Mycroft is, right? He's like he's like the like that's his role. He's a stately kind of guy, right?
He's your armchair detective.
Yeah. This the tie on this is really good. Just a little subtle.
Well, if you compose your shot like that, you're still telling a story. Like that
Yeah.
there, the part you're setting tells your story as well.
Yeah. It's like, and people get this on like an intuitive level. You know? It's like, it's not like this shot's very shallow focus because it's like in motion and whatever else, and it's fine. But every shot in movies nowadays, a lot of the time, looks like this, which is bad. This is a good cabbie outfit. Talking about good cabbie outfits.
You need to be warm on that one.
Yeah, just that it looks so. This looks like so nice with the gloves and everything. Love that. Great. Looks like, again, more beaver skin there. This Olivier is such a good actor. I love him. He's like, he brought so much to this in such a bit. I thought it was going to be a bigger part, but it's kind of a bit part.
Yeah, I was really surprised too. You know, this, I guess you could say this is a cameo for him, but
yeah.
This is a Moriarty that we have never seen before, and like ever. But it's supposed to be,
portrayal
yeah.
by miles,
yeah.
by anything ever, because like, yeah.
Can you?
I've never like. Sorry, go ahead.
Can you imagine if you are a mathematics professor and the greatest detective in the world just decides he suddenly hates you, and he thinks you are a mastermind criminal?
There wasn't a sequel to this at all, was there? Because I would have loved to see him as the proper bad guy. Like, if it actually was revealed, like, that he was, in addition to whatever he did as the mastermind, I would have.
I think that's. I don't think there's another one after this, or a book after this. I think I think it just leaves it there.
But you can definitely tell there's something, like, you know, with the raggedness of this, like, there's something going on there, but also the way his eyes move in this, like, there's something going on there, but he also knows, like, he knows kind of why Holmes is, like, he's like, oh, I don't know why Holmes is after me, he thinks I'm this thing, but he knows. He knows. He's like,
oh yeah. And also with his hair, he's it's not slicked, it's just a comb over. Everyone else in the scene has very neatly parted hair with pomade in it.
It reminded me of the performance of Grand Maester Pycelle in Game of Thrones, where he's like, oh, you know, the Grand Maester, he's, I'm just so poor and broken, but then he drops it, he'll drop it sometime in private and reveal himself to be.
The good thing about that is that Mycroft, who is canonically far more brilliant than Holmes, says that Moriarty's not anything. There's a problem here, which is excellent for the believability of Olivier's performance as a sort of pathetic character, because if you know the Holmes story at all, you're thinking, oh, this is a ruse, this is something that he's doing. So it really helps is Moriarty's performance in that.
It also, I think, enhances the characterization of Mycroft versus like Sherlock, because one of the reasons I think Sherlock is, Mycroft maybe better, but Sherlock is like better. Like, he's like he's more, he can accomplish more, and he's the one who does, like, he's
Absolutely.
more that in touchness with them. It reminded me of, like, the to the degree of, like, people have childhood trauma, like, there can be obviously different interpretations of that, and you get the sense that Mycroft hasn't really grappled with it as much as Sherlock has.
Yeah.
Like, he's just more, it's buried deep, like anciently deep.
The way in the 80s Jeremy Brett show, the way Holmes describes Mycroft is that he'd be the greatest criminal agent in the world, but he has no energy. And Holmes has this trauma in his past, and he is just constantly just running, just keeping and going and doing. Whereas Mycroft is almost just like he's walking through a creek and he doesn't want to disturb the riverbed. So he keeps to himself, reclusive and low energy.
Yeah. That's almost like a what is this? This is like a smoking jacket here, and I like her outfit. Yeah, this is, again, I love the colors on this. This is one of my favorite, and the butterfly right there. Her hair is so good in this movie. This is like such good hair. Yeah, this is the pattern. There's like, you can kind of, I hope this comes through on screen, but the pattern on this is really quite nice. And then you reveal he's wearing like 7 layers underneath it or something. So
he's still dressed for work. He just has his, instead of his outside coat, it's his inside coat.
Yeah. Now here you have the terrible. I mean, this is just like a 1970s. This takes place, way before this. This is like I don't know why he did the sunglasses. And then again, he does the same. I kind of wonder if this is a reference to the Hound of the Baskerville one, because he has like the fake thing in the same spot, like as in the other one.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, this is one of the shots I just like. What's such beautiful lighting. It reminded me of the movie The Devil and Daniel Webster, which I watched I think maybe the day after this, or the day before this. They had a lot of similar kind of like this spooky. Steam and shadow and lighting and everything. This is also then they go into a great fit by the I think this guy's like he's the premier of the Ottoman Empire, I want to say.
That would explain it.
Yeah, all his I love Sherlock's coat in this. It's just like the color, the brown and black. And now you get sort of more into, you start to get a little bit, it's not quite yet, but they're starting to approach more of like the classic Holmes and Watson type fits, right?
Holmes is still distressed, so extraordinarily distressed. So he's still bowing to sort of clothing conventions of the era, but he's still depressed dressing.
Yeah, this pipe. What kind of? I've seen this pipe before. Is that a whale?
That is called a calabash. It's the main body of it is made of a gourd, and the white part you see at the top is made of a substance called meerschaum. Meerschaum is mined in Turkey, and it's German for sea foam, and it makes a very excellent smoking pipe, very dry, very cool. And what that is that the white part, the meerschaum, is a cap that goes over the gourd. And most of the gourd is an air chamber, which cools the smoke before it gets to your mouth.
That's cool. That's very cool. Yeah, love that. Love the coat on this with the little kind of leathery at the edges of it. Even just this is a scene. Sorry, go ahead.
I really like the leather trim on collars and cuffs and whatnot. It's just classy.
Yeah, it can look. If without the right fit, it can look, I think, a little bit tackier or but like you see some stuff like Goodwill or stuff where they've tried to do it, but like it looks so good in this. Then we move to as they are in the continent, and you just get to see all these. I put a bunch of screenshots. So even the background characters, everyone's just such good costuming. And then finally they're into the he's got the hat on. The classic Holmes and Watson. This is another great cabbie fit. I love this one. I mean, yeah,
it's very, very workable. It's a very working outfit.
Colors on this. He kind of looks more uncomfortable in this, though. I mean, that's also the brilliance of it, right? Like, he doesn't wear it like Nicol Williamson as an actor. He doesn't wear this stuff as easy. Like it's, I guess it's all part of his sort of like squirmy performance. He's constantly like just a bit disheveled. And, yeah. This one he looks great though.
I love that. I love the styling that they used here with the red vest and the brown overcoat.
Yeah, this is really quite. This color combination that you don't see as much. And then the tie fits in sort of perfectly with it. The buttons, it's also nice.
And there's Freud.
Yeah, you got Eleanor, who kind of looks like what's his face, Oscar Isaac almost.
Oh my gosh! If they did a remake, Oscar Isaac should be Freud.
Yeah. Another great. You got the pocket chain. He's immaculately dressed. The texture matching. I mean, the texture mixing on this is just so good. Yeah. Look at this coat.
Yes.
This is just crazy.
You can really see it here. Like it's oh.
Yeah. It's crazy texturous. And then, yeah, just more of it. Then you got the classic hypnotist. Love that. And then even just like, the coming undone, I love how, the high collar sort of pops out here. I talk about that in one of my videos about the different ways you can, when you see fashion movies, like, you don't just want to see it like this, as in like standing, like almost posing, right? Like you want to see when he's anxious like this, or you want to see it like, halfway off. Like all this is sort of an idea of the construction of fashion. This is great lighting and the good maid's outfit. the big keys. I'd love to have a big chain of keys like that.
Oh yeah, just clip it on your belt and jangle around. What are they to? They're not to anything. They're a fashion statement.
Yeah, exactly. And you got very, again, this is like he's doing a Western pose. It's just hard now that I see him making screenshots. I promise you, if you're seeing this, if you haven't seen the movie, he does great. He's great in this. But still wise, this looks like he's like about to say, well, partner, I'd sure like to do a business meeting with you.
Looks like he just walked into the parlor of the main rich bad guy.
Yeah. Then you have the painting askew again, like it was in his early thing, sort of retreating to this. Just great. The detail on this movie is so good. The sweat, as you said, the red, it's coming undone. And then this whole sequence is horrifying. It feels like his coat's drenched, right? I don't even know who all these people are,
I like the misty look of dream sequences for the era.
I think they did this sometimes by smothering Vaseline on the camera.
Oh, so that's what, okay.
Sometimes you could do it like this. I believe I've seen a trick where you cover it with like a sheen of pantyhose as well. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of the times they did it just with like some type of oil or Vaseline. Yeah, this was so well shot. It's a great maid outfit. She feeds him words. This was the most terrifying shot.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Especially because he's put together here. It like shows him in his power, right? He's like he's coiffed. He's looking down. This is what I thought, to go back to the how dark they were getting. Like this just seemed like when he's looking up, the match cut. Like.
And also, I don't think you know it yet, but you're seeing him as Child Holmes would see him.
Yeah.
So that's...
The fact that how phallic this is, I was just like, I think what they're implying here, especially, stereotypically with the British upper class of that era going back like 150 years, like there was a lot of this stuff in there, and I think they're kind of heavily implying it in many ways. Mm-hmm. Even just from like a power standpoint, it's just like, it's very gross. And they just kind of do it in like hints and stuff, because I don't think you could say a lot of this in like a big budget, Sherlock Holmes movie, but there's a couple movies from the era that get into it more. And you can see, I love the texture on these look like such comfy pajamas. Like nice, look breathable cotton. This is great. Yeah.
That's probably the one shot where I can see, okay, that is Robert Duvall.
Yeah. And something, it's interesting. So after he gets out of the dream and they're more connected, and like, I'd be curious. One thing I thought in here, I was like, this actually was maybe the most touching part of the movie for me, costume wise, because Holmes is like yelling at him, and he's like really apologetic. He's like, if I did yell at you, I didn't mean any of it, like, because he's like having these dreams and he's going in and out, and
also withdrawal. He's addicted to cocaine at that point, so he's also going through withdrawal.
Going through withdrawals. But when it comes out, he's wearing the houndstooth, which is like, that's traditionally more of a that is a Sherlockian symbol, like that's more associated with Sherlock than Watson, right? Or am I wrong?
Watson probably would have plainer things. Like if you're having a from book adaptation of Watson, he never really left the military all so much, so he would have like a lot plainer stuff. This is more of a Holmes sort of, when he's out and about.
The Deerstalker traditionally is houndstooth, I believe. But the reason why this affected me so much is because like he's just going, like they're friends, and he's going through like this wild withdrawals and dream sequence, and then this is almost like wearing a sports jersey. It's like, if I was best friends with like Peyton Manning or something, it's like, and Peyton Manning came out of a coma or whatever, then it's like, if I'm standing there wearing a Peyton Manning jersey, it's like, it's such an act of love almost, he's like kind of coding himself. He's like, I still love you, Sherlock,
That's one thing Watson will always do. He will always love Holmes.
This little vest is interesting. It's kind of hard to see, but got the...
His vests in here, a lot of them look very cardigan-like.
Yeah. They do. This scene, I love the scene. This guy's standing very coquettishly barren, and I love the thing. I also love this fit. I mean, this guy's like, he looks like a professional wrestler. He's just oiled up with the suspenders.
He might have been boxing.
He might have been boxing. Yeah, it's a great great group of guys fit here.
And the mustaches.
Yeah, the mustaches. We're having a fun time watching this one. But I love the detail on the military stuff is, just his character too. The fact that he's wearing it in the locker room. You got another guy with the suspenders in the back. But then they're like, we're not going to fight. It's like, yeah, I demand recompense. I demand, I need to fight my own battles. This almost looks like a Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, sweater vest, yeah.
Yeah. But then he's like, how are you going to fight about it? Oh, we're going to play some weird game of tennis.
We're going to play proto-tennis.
Yeah. And then you see, I love this little hat.
He looks so out of place in that outfit, whereas Freud really looks like he plays that.
Yeah, it's almost like, I don't know, are you a tennis fan at all?
I've watched a bit.
There's a great documentary, I think it's a 30 for 30. Now I can't remember. I think it's about Jimmy Connors versus someone else. I can't remember who they get, but there was like a big rivalry between U.S. I think maybe, I gotta look this up. But there was like, one of the guys was like John McEnroe and Jimmy Connors. The Connors-McEnroe, they were like both American, like tennis stars in the 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. And I believe Connors was like this real working class guy from like the streets of Queens, and like he's kind of this grinder. And McEnroe was like a hothead, sort of more upper class, or was like he was also super. I mean, they were both like super hothead guys, but there was like a real kind of like grindy style versus like more like it was kind of like I was watching. I was like, oh, this is like Connors McEnroe, which I thought was, because he was more definitely like, he's kind of wearing it. He's Jewish, right? He's like he's not from the same stratosphere as like a Baron, but he wears it a lot better.
He does.
Alan Arkin's looking smoking here.
Alan Arkin, he has a sort of swashbuckler look right here.
He does.
Like the shirt's kind of pulled down at the waist, and the sleeves are a bit puffier.
Yeah, it's very Tyrone Power from the 1940s, like classic swashbuckling. This lady's coat and the necklace and the everything were great. Yeah, more nice menswear. Looks like a velvet kind of coat here. More.
I'd wear more velvet if I could. I love velvet coats.
I don't know what this is, but I like it. I think this is like maybe a Turkish outfit. I want to say like a messenger.
Yeah, like a hotel porter or something. I don't know if they're in a hotel.
There's so many good fits in here. I literally I thought I took a lot of pictures of like the Basil Rathbone one, but like. This might be my favorite fit in all three movies. This is just stunning. Like the coat here with the stripes, with the hat. Just beautiful. And then he even got his fit as well. I believe this is his wife, right? That's Freud's.
I think that's his. Yeah, I think that's his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his wife, and they were at his house with his kids. And...
Yeah. The layers here. I mean, again, I wish it was ever. I don't know if I'd have to be in Antarctica for it to be cold enough for me to wear this type of layers.
Now, I've been to London. I spent about a week in London in 2011, and it was summer-ish, but it felt fall. It really felt like it was like early stages of fall.
Higher on the equator, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot higher latitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I can see them needing that if it's any month except like the top of summer. I can see them needing that.
That's a good point. Yeah, they got. I love a fez.
Yeah,
fez is always good. Again, beautiful shots. It just feels infinite. This looks good. I love her hair as she's in the thing here. This is like where you get some of the classic Holmes. Again, he's so magnetic. I really want to see everything this guy's done now, because he's so magnetic in this. He's sort of like processing her trauma through his own trauma in the scene. Mm-hmm. He's getting more and more uncomfortable. It's such like a subtle, brilliant performance.
It really comes through here. The worst thing about being Sherlock Holmes and having trauma is that he can't hide from it. He's going to know every aspect of it, even if he doesn't want to admit it to himself. But he can't trick himself into thinking something different.
Yeah, he's a master of noticing deduction too, so he can't not notice his own, on some level. And just the degree of the sweat. And you got this
Yeah.
old guy chasing him, leading him on. It's more classic Sherlock Holmesy, Watson type attire. Beautiful scenes through here. The framing of this is all so good. I mean, just the shadows and then this scene was I was like, oh wow, this is again, Dark Souls Elden Ring. This is like a Dark Souls boss level. Like as your sort of looks like a crypt that you'd fight something in Elden Ring. He has to hypnotize them, and they're like, oh, what could be possibly? Oh, those are the most intelligent horses, and they've been trained to kill.
I'm trying to think what breed of horses. Are they Lipizzaner stallions? I think so.
Yeah,
but
I don't really know a lot about. Yeah, the only thing I think from the Lipizzaner, I know they're referencing Crimson Tide because it's like a racial thing in that movie with Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. The hair on this, gorgeous. Love the.
It's.
Yeah, and then his outfit. I mean, what a way to visit a woman in a mental
look at the high collar. Oh my gosh,
he's Dracula.
He's definitely leaning into German aristocracy.
I could do this look with my hairline kind of, and if I slicked back, if I just dyed it a little bit in the mustache, and I gave myself a scar.
There we go.
Honestly, even the scar is a nice touch. I don't know if this happened earlier in the movie, or if this is a real scar, but I know it was in vogue. So many German generals in like World War I and II would give themselves dueling scars to make it tougher.
I forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah. The necklace, the gloves, beautiful. I love her coat here too. Like as she puts that on. Yeah, you can see this is like only appropriate for Dracula to even have like a white coat on the like.
Are they going to the opera after this, or?
They're going to Transylvania probably. I mean, I think he just takes her on the train, but. Yeah, you can see more in the background, but yeah, this has a good guy, has like a non-villain ever worn something like this ever.
Oh no,
Yeah,
you'll never see, because this is what he thinks is the height of fashion for him. So
yeah, more Fez, and they run back, and it's starting then they go to the brothel. Great outfits in the brothel. All these things are so elaborate.
Feather boas and...
Yeah. Holmes looking out of place.
He would be.
Trying to protect Watson, though. Yeah. And and this is one of my favorite shots, these train scenes. Mm-hmm. As the lighting on these. I just say, yeah.
I'm a sucker for a train in a movie.
Yeah. Love a train in a movie. The way they did the lighting and the... they planned out like just even to like film this like it's like okay, we're doing this at sunrise like and to get it specifically, and just like the way the blooming comes in of the light, that's such like a characteristic of film that I love of this. I think it's just the bloom coming in around the window when it's overexposed. And just all these scenes are just these aren't even fits really anymore. I mean, they were just kind of like fits in motion, but these are the actual actors in many cases on these scenes. And I mean, you're just like, that's just such an impressive shot, because those are two trains, like live trains, and they're like,
there'd be no other way to do it. And a lot of, a lot of actors would balk at it, but a lot would be like, this is the character, this is the story, this is what I need to do to tell the story. So,
yeah, this is I love the outfit that the Baron has in this. Just like, again, like this is not a good guy outfit at the end of the movie. You're not going to be the hero if you're. Yeah.
He reminds me of like an evil Toreador. He looks like a Zorro villain.
He does. He does look like a Zorro villain. That's a great, a lot of those Tyrone Power swashbuckling movies. And then to see Nicol Williams. I mean, he's doing this. Like, this is not backlit or back projected or whatever. It's like literally he's on the side of this train is moving, and then there's another train coming, and he's just doing this. And you got Robert Duvall and Arkin hanging out. He's climbing between the trains. Like these are all moving shots. Mm-hmm. This I thought was a great example of just the nice tailoring of menswear, where it's like he's able to move around pretty well in this stuff. He got his. I would be needing like athletic shorts, sneakers, like
And the treads on these shoes are not substantial like we would think of them today. That like they're real danger of slipping.
I would want some like rock climbing shoes or something, you know. He goes in, he's got the open collar now. And then again, this is like on like there's no I can't see a rope here. I mean, I don't think they were able to CGI this type of stuff back, but they're just on a moving train, and he's like just like if he trips here and falls back, it's like
there would
could be awful.
Can you imagine the insurance payment the film company had to do just for this?
I love it. You know, you got the
like. There's certainly no wire on that shot whatsoever. Even on the close-up shots, there would be some. These are two people standing on top of a moving train.
Yeah, and I think these are stunt doubles. These at this point, I think it might be stunt doubles, but maybe not. I don't know. There's so many shots where it's like even this one, he's climbing outside the train. If you're
gonna do a wide shot just to minimize risk, I would say absolutely do a stunt double.
Yeah,
going over a bridge.
Like this shot, and then that is Nicol Williamson in this. And he's just I mean, this is actually, I believe. I don't think this is actually Alan Arkin. I think this is actually a stunt double. You can kind of tell, but even still with the stunt double,
even as a stunt double, they bumped into another train as it's moving, and he had to jump from one to the other. Woo.
In dress shoes. Yeah, more duels. I mean, this is not a stunt double. This is not projection at all. This is just them. You know, he's ducking, and then this is the craziest thing, like because this train's going pretty fast. They speed it up in the movie so it looks really fast, but this guy has to like duck within like 10 feet left of the thing. And then if he doesn't, I mean, that wall is going to decapitate him. Beautiful shots coming through. There's a couple of good shots like this in Sholay. More stuff. This is a great outfit. I love that. That's a great... This guy has the big... He's won the battle of having the most comfy, cushiony... This is like wearing a comforter. Yeah.
He's got a curtain rope to tie it all together.
Yeah, it does. It looks like that's a good point. It looks like the same material as this. Yeah, then great veil here. She reveals it. She's done it well. This guy tries to stab him. Back to this is, I mean, such an impressive duel. It's like you could also throw like the Matrix Reloaded in here. That's what it kind of reminded me of when they're fighting on the truck.
Yeah, on top of the semi. Yeah.
Yeah, on the highway. And yeah, these are the actors. So this is the Baron and Nicol Williamson. This is a moving train going pretty fast, and they're just jumping from car to car. I don't like. He's hanging out there a lot of the time. He's just cheering on. He's saying, remember the backhand. But then he's climbing as well.
Also reminds me of Back to the Future 3. They did something like it wasn't to the length of this scene, but climbing on the side of trains. They might have been on a set. But this is out in the country. It's hard to describe. I promise you, the viewer, this movie's worth watching just for this scene. It's one of the most impressive action scenes. It's one of the very best ones, and I love action. I don't give that title out easy, but this is one of the most impressive things I've seen. I mean, this is Nicol Williamson and the actor just jumping. These I don't believe these were stunt doubles in this as well. It might have been. But again, even if it is, it's like the guy's jumping, moving train onto this thing. You got Duvall watching. Then he comes back, and then I think this is where he does the more duels, and he's like, oh, and then a nice stab. Good death scene. Payoff. There's cheering. It's certainly real because or they're certainly really there because he did not fall off the train dramatically. Yeah, exactly. Like, plop. Great point. I love his cast in this. He's got the fancy cast, and he's back in that nice leather trimmed one we like. Yeah, look at how he is dressed now as compared to the beginning. Like this is put together Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, and acting wise, he seems a lot more comfortable. You can even tell in the stills, like in his clothes. And Watson doesn't look that. He's just kind of the steady rock. Yeah, so he's. And then finally, I love such a good performance with the tear. He's ready to face it, yeah. He's ready to face it. Yeah, his eyes tell me. I always think the way you can tell a good film actor is in the eyes. And this guy has such tremendous eyes on film. Yeah.
goes through the dream, and then finally you get him. And honestly, this is like, you get him in like almost the classic of classic Holmes and Watson outfits. Final at the end, it's almost like a Batman Begins origin story, right?
Yeah.
It's like, this makes me upset that there's not like 10 of these. Like, I'm sure I love the Basil Rathbones, but
the point that this is set in the storyline, the overall storyline of Sherlock Holmes, this is about. It's perfect for it because this is at the point of reinvention for Holmes, even in like the main canon storyline, because he comes back after faking his death, and he's doing his detective work again, reinvigorated.
Yeah, great fit. I love this whole, I mean, with the sling and everything. You can even see all the background people here, great outfits. And then he finally sits down. This is like the end of Dark Knight Rises or something, where it's like you don't expect her to be there, but then she's there and it's beautiful. She's got a great veil. And off into this great dress.
There's a great line here when Watson is seeing him off. Watson's like, "What do I tell everybody?" And it's like, tell them I died fighting my old mathematics teacher. And then he goes, "They'll never believe you anyway." Which is what happened with Doyle. Like, he didn't want to write Holmes anymore, so he killed him off at Reichenbach Falls fighting Moriarty, and people just kept berating him about writing more. So it's like, all right, he's back. He faked his death. Here we go. So they didn't believe him when he died. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I forgot to bring it up the whole time, but actually, the nonfiction book I'm reading is a collection of David Gran articles called "The Devil and Sherlock Holmes," where I'm currently in the middle of reading. It's like a story. I think it's about like a lost Sherlock. I honestly put the book down for months. I don't even remember. I'll probably have to start it over. But it's about like, I think a Sherlock Holmes will or estate, or maybe a lost story or something, or someone like killed a collector. But I remember it being interesting, so I'll try and pick that back up.
With Holmes stories now that they've been in public domain, Holmes has been in public domain for so long. We've really gotten excellent non-canon Sherlock Holmes stories.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you going. So I think the last thing on here is movie recommendations. So I think, like, honestly, movie recommendations, if you liked, I'll go, weirdly enough, I'll go the Mission Impossibles on 7% Solution. And I'll say, I'll also go, if you like train movies, Cholet and Dulce and the Mad Max. Like, if you like the 7%, I think even more so than a Sherlock Holmes movie, you'll probably just like a good action movie. So I would do that. And then for the Basil Rathbone ones, I think probably, I haven't seen them, but I would imagine anything else in the 14 film collection is that.
Oh, absolutely.
And then, because Carl is a fantasy author, I will say, if you want good fantasy that's sort of lesser known, I'm going to give you 5, which is The Hourglass Sanatorium. There's a movie called Blanche by this Polish director, Valerian Borowick, who it's like based on like it's based on like a medieval Polish story, and it's just got like a very 70s fantasy. It's just like it's got like a morality from like the 11th century. It's like reading a Canterbury Tale or something. So he does a really good job with it. The movie Tom Jones, which I reviewed on my TikTok channel, which is won the Oscar, I think, in 1964 for Best Picture. It's a very bawdy. If you like Canterbury, you like the bawdy stuff. It's like a very bawdy British, like kind of upper class, like satire. Super fun, but pretty fantastical. And it's like, 19th century, 17th century type stuff, 18th century. Then I would go Valerie and Her Week of Wonders, which I think is a Czech film. I want to say it's a Czech film about it's like a coming of age story for a girl, very like it's pretty dark, but it's Czechoslovakian, but very fantastical. And it's, if you like sort of like offbeat fantasy, like the stuff we've been talking about this episode. And then lastly, The Company of Wolves, which is, I think, a collection of 3 short stories. I don't think it's Stephen King. It's a 1984 British Gothic fantasy horror film directed by Neil Jordan. And it's based on, screenplay by Angela Carter was based on her short story of the same name. So there are stories that, like a couple stories that sort of weave throughout it. And it's really good. It's very dark fantasy. So it's like a dark but kind of whimsy Like,
Oh, I love that.
yeah, Labyrinth, Dark Crystal. Like, if you like that type of,
Yeah.
Monty Python.
Um,
So, what about you? What do you got?
well, if you like the Basil Rathbone Sherlock Holmes, I want to go back, and I think it's called Shadow of the Bat. It's a mystery movie. I think it even predates Hound of the Baskervilles. But it not only does it sort of set a standard for mystery movies, not only of the time, but elements still today. It's somewhat is inspiring of the original comic book Batman.
Is it the Bat Whispers?
I think so. Yes. I think that's the one.
Roland West, the Bat Whispers. Oh, I've never heard of this.
It's kind of a
1930 pre-code mystery film. Mm-hmm. An early talkie and one of the first widescreen films. How about that?
Mm-hmm. It's just, I like it. Okay, and then the 7% solution. If you like the 7%,
do you recommend the other? Just not to, would you recommend the other Basil Rathbone ones from your memory?
Yes, absolutely. If you're a Sherlock Holmes purist, not really. Okay. But if you like adaptations and you like seeing something different done with a story and it's done well, then yes.
Okay.
And then with 7% Solution, I would probably just have to recommend as a companion to that the like I told you about the 1980s era BBC Jeremy Brett show, because you're going to get the same sort of style and as in the 7%. Oh, it's got
is it kind of structured like the new, like the Cumberbatch one where they're kind of long episodes, a couple of seasons?
Yeah, it's got, I think it's 3 seasons, 3 or 4 seasons. I have not watched it in ages. 9
series, 41 episodes, plus 5 feature-length specials. And it looks like they're about 50 to 104 minutes long.
Their seasons tend to be shorter, but it is a lot of episodes. If you want the same style of acting chops as in 7% Solution, then that's the one you need to see too.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Well, yeah. So I will make a note to I definitely will check that out. Yeah, it's weird. I normally don't. I guess I like detectives. I don't know that I mean I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't watch as much Columbo as but I kind of, it's not like, I'm kind of excited to be able to like have these like 14 Basil Rathbone ones, and also maybe watch the show, because like, yeah, it's nice to have. I don't know, just there's something about the Sherlock. I just like him. I don't know. I don't know what it is about like the narrative, the device of it, but
it has
super. It might be my favorite movie. I'm trying to think. I don't want to insult any previous guests, but I think I've watched so far. Let me go to my list. All the Pretty Horses, Dawn of the Dead, Synecdoche, New York, which I'd seen, and Anna Karenina 2012 so far. And Time Crimes, Dawn of the Dead, Synecdoche, All the Pretty. I think this is probably. I think you might have the belt right now in terms of the one I most liked. Dawn of the Dead was really good.
Well, it's early in the season. I'll see if I can keep hold of that belt.
Yeah, the next coming up. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Hopefully not. Hopefully it keeps improving from here.
I will say, well, I did watch. I laid on an episode that I had to reschedule about children shouldn't play with dead things. Which spoiler, because this episode will probably come out before that. I'm like, not so thrilled. Like, it was okay. Like, wasn't really up my alley. But then I'm doing The Mirror Has Two Faces, which is Barbra Streisand. So maybe, I don't know. The person on that has this dressmaker from Atlanta has Rebecca Botter. Shout out Rebecca Botter on TikTok. She has hyped that one up, so I'm super excited to see it. And then so I'm doing Secretary, which would be fun, the James Spader one.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, we're doing. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun. I cannot wait for that episode. We're doing Secretary and Crash, the James Spader. So it's gonna be like a James Spader going nuts romantically. But then someone also just suggested, I think it's Morgiana, which is a Slovakian film from like 1972, and I think it's like a repressed woman horror movie, and I love those movies. So I could see Morgiana. I'm probably because I watched something else by that guy called The Cremator, which is like this super, super, super dark movie about like a guy who works as a cremator as the Germans are taking over World War II Czechoslovakia, and it just like it's like I think it was the first movie and maybe the only movie made by a Holocaust survivor about the Holocaust.
No.
Yeah, because I think the guy who directed it was a survivor. So crazy movie. But I think Morgiana might compete, and we'll see about The Mirror Has Two Faces as well. But the other ones, I've seen American Psycho, and I really like it. But this movie just scratched an itch. I just didn't know I was like missing. Like, so thank you, really appreciate.
Well, I'm
this.
happy to, and I'm happy to have another opportunity to watch a Baskerville adaptation.
Yeah, we'll have to. This has been a lot of fun. We'll have to see about getting you back on, maybe doing another couple movies.
Well, I'd like to. You know how to contact me.
Yeah. So. Last shout out for, let me make sure I got this right. So The Witch Doctor and Just About Anyone, and I think a couple other books and stories are available online. And then the upcoming book, The 90-Day King, is coming out on April 18th. And how can people order that?
It's going to be on Amazon. It's a wide distribution. It's going to be Amazon, Kobo, Barnes & Noble. Anywhere online that sells books, it'll turn up there.
Awesome. And you can find him on TikTok at author Carl R. Jennings and on Instagram, Carl R. Jennings. So, yeah, Carl, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm really happy to be a guest. Really happy talking with you.
Awesome. Well, everyone, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.